Zelazny might have a run here. He pulls up. 2 laps to go at Auto Club Speedway. What a run this has been. 5 cars out front just dancing around for the lead. Salas back to the bottom. Honeycutt stuck up top. Slide job out of Salas. Crossover out of Honeycutt.
23 should have a big run here. He does.
You see Salas starting to cover it up. He goes up the racetrack. Honeycutt's clear of them both. He shoves it up in front of the 23, gets himself loose. It'll be white flag this time by. Salas down low. Zelazny looking for a hole. Side by side, 3 wide, coffee in it. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. Brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. Who is going to win the Luke's Playhouse 200? Honeycutt controlling the race. Coffee in second. Tires are aging. Zelazny off the top rope. Got a little bit free. He's going to crash with lights. And yes, wall there. Who knows? Honeycutt, though, leading the race. Can Coffee get a run? He's going to send it. He hits him. Big bump and run. Coffee's gonna try and get away. Can Salas get there? Coffee's gonna crash. Salas is gonna crash. Watch Nick Lights here to the stripe. Salas is gonna do it with no front bumper.
Unbelievable.
Wow. There's the white flag from Barney the Flagman. 1 lap to go at Long Beach. White flag is out, brought to you by Whiplash Simcams.
Yeah, can really hold him off. He looked like he's started to gap Cantonio just ever so slightly. Got about half of a second. It's been hovering right around there. Oh, Cantonio really pushing. He's sideways out of turn number 1. But Rayleigh just keeping that car pointed in the right direction. Nice and smooth, able to keep it going. It's going to be tough. Antonio knows that there's not very many chances, even if you can get close enough to him to make a move. So we'll see as they come through 6 and 7, head toward turn 8 onto the backstretch.
Deeper in the field, nothing changing. Lap traffic ahead. It's Kevin Peak and Bradley Alvis right in front of our race leaders down East Seaside Way. And to turn number 9 for the final time. Lap traffic in the way, and Rayleigh goes for it on Peak. He sends it into turn 9. He knows he can't wait. He knows he can't give an opportunity to Kevin Cantonio. Cantonio's going to take it anyway. Ships it into the hairpin, and Rayleigh's going to get away. Thomas Rayleigh is going to be a race winner in the North American Racing League. A last lap bump and run wasn't enough. This man wins at Long Beach.
Wow, what a finish coming through that hairpin. I thought they were all going to wad it up. We had lap traffic in there, staying in there.
In 2005, the NASCAR Cup Series roared into Fort Worth, Texas, with Jimmy Johnson atop the standings and Jeff Gordon fresh off a Martinsville win. While the NORA Retro Cup Series 24 car won last week thanks to Vincent Arthur, there's a different number atop the points sheet this week, and it continues to be the number 4 heading into Texas. Hunter Sr. continues to pace the field in the points in what could soon be a runaway to the Chase reset this fall. Welcome to Pit Stop TV and to the virtual Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV with Zach Murtis alongside here shortly, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of the Texas 300. Today's coverage is brought to you by Harpoon Design, by NORA, and by Whiplash Sim Cams. I'm excited to be here. I say that every week, I know, but truly this is a cool racetrack and one that doesn't really get used as much these days. I feel like Texas definitely drew the ire of many fans when it was reconfigured, and I think at one point the track was certainly affected, but this 2009 scan is, I think, one of the fastest tracks you could possibly go to in a stock car on iRacing. As far as, the mile and a halfs go, it is one of the faster intermediates for sure, and it really, really does challenge you as well as a driver. I recall cutting teeth here when I was trying to find my way in sim racing. Trying to learn this racetrack was always so difficult. It's always been a really, really tough place to race, and I'm surprised it didn't earn a different nickname. And actually, back in 05, they continued to refer to it as the Great American Speedway. Sure, that fits, but this is a really tough racetrack, Zach. This 2009 scan really is difficult, and I know you're still updating iRacing. We'll see if Discord cooperates with us for a second, but I wonder what you've got to say on this racetrack, because this 09 version, it is tough. And maybe his Discord not cooperating, so we'll just move on. But I'll see what he's got to say about the racetrack here shortly as we get into the iRacing.com session. I know the B-roll was the new scan of Texas, where the turns 1 and 2 areas have been widened and flattened out, but we are racing here on the 2009 scan, I can promise you that. And I'm excited for this racetrack, I truly am. I think this is going to get back to some of the really amazing intermediate racing we've seen from these drivers this season. Chase Durham, I think, is certainly a driver to watch. And let's take a look at the point standings and kind of see where that all lies coming into today. Hunter Sr., like I said, still atop. Chase Durham, he's leading in practice, and we put him on the Who You Got post earlier today. I really, truly believe Chase Durham is somebody you got to watch today. Go back to 2005 as well. It was a 16 car of Greg Biffle that won that race here at Texas Motor Speedway. So Chase Durham, history is on his side, and he certainly has been very, very fast to get this season started. So he is a threat to win here this evening. Josh Conover, Ronnie Norman, they certainly are going to be strong as well. I think Kenneth Cheney's one to watch, and Dalton Tucker is the other driver that was on our Who You Got post earlier today and has to be, I think, in everybody's radar as far as trying to go to victory lane at the end of 200 laps here today at the Great American Speedway. This is just, a sixth of the way into the season. We still have a long ways to go, but this is a look at the point standings coming into this race here at Texas. We can take a look back at the schedule. Of course, the 6 races that have preceded this evening and the 29 yet to come as we are here at Texas Motor Speedway. Phoenix next week. We can't go racing under the lights, unfortunately, unless iRacing smiles upon us and drops a surprise nighttime update there, but the lights at that scan do not work, unfortunately, and we will have to race in the day. But 2005 was the very first year that NASCAR went to Phoenix in the spring and ran the Cup cars under the lights, so that would have been cool to emulate. Unfortunately, we'll have to stick with it with a daytime Phoenix International Raceway next week on the Legacy scan, but then it's out to the big bad Talladega Superspeedway and followed up by Darlington, Richmond, and Charlotte. Some quintessential NASCAR tracks. I've been saying a lot about some of these tracks like Martinsville, Bristol, Darlington, Richmond, and Charlotte. They're all right in the heart, the core of the Carolinas and Virginia, and really where NASCAR was born. So a lot of great racetracks coming up here, and well, of course, we don't have qualifying to go through this evening. It's just into practice. We wanted to make a point, though, to start getting these broadcasts off the ground a little bit sooner each Monday night, and we've done that here this evening. This gives us now a chance to look around the field a little bit during practice, and there you see the number 16 fastest so far. He is at a, let's see, well, the time's on the left side of the screen, actually, on the ticker, a 28.610. That is nearly a tenth and a half faster than Dalton Tucker at a 28.742. The weather should change a bit before we go racing here, but we can take a look at the MXWraps.com weather conditions. And there you see 66.5 degrees in the air. Decently cool, admittedly, with a mild track temp, I'd say. 88 degrees, nothing too crazy. But I think these guys definitely do need to watch for that temperature to climb up over the course of the evening. Of course, it's only 12:09 in sim, so I would expect that temperature to climb up a good ways by the time we get really even halfway through this race today. Looking around the speed charts so far, one driver catching my eye is definitely the number 3 of Dalton Tucker. Of course, we talked about, well, briefly mentioned that he was on the Who You Got post earlier today on Facebook, and that split between Chase Durham and Dalton Tucker, it's almost like I knew what to expect because these two are on the top of practice currently. Nick Geilis in the 3rd spot, he's got a new paint scheme but is not on track currently. Meanwhile, we do have a couple of newcomers here in 4th and 5th that I think deserve a word or two here. Dustin Stallings, 4th quick right now in practice. He will be starting on the outside of the front row tonight, despite being a new driver to these cars and to this series, and kind of just coming in here because, well, he and Brendan wanted to go run some races in different cars. Just wanted to try something different out, and Dustin, quick in qualifying last week, therefore will start 2nd here today. And I know he's not a Texas native quite like Brendan Maddox, but I think this is a racetrack these boys have circled as far as one they really want to perform well at, as there is Brendan Maddox, and they're playing up the kind of underfunded, underdog kind of story a little bit. Of course, you saw Dustin in the Hall of Fame Racing 96 colors. Here's Brendan Maddox in the early days of the Front Row Motorsports number 34 colors. And while Front Row Motorsports has certainly become a top team in the NASCAR Cup Series, Zach, at the time, that 34 was just happy to finish races and often didn't. So Brendan Maddox, he'll be starting towards the front tonight, I think, in row number 2. He is definitely showing these guys that he can get it done just like the best of them. That's a run through your top 5 currently in practice, Zach, but we have got 300 miles coming up. How do you feel about this racetrack?
Oh, I love Texas. I loved it before they did the reconfiguration. I'll just say it that way, because as much as I do like, the tracks that NASCAR runs, Texas is not one that I always have circled. I had it circled for a while before they did their reconfiguration, which was in 2017, I believe. They really just made it seem like, as it was, everything's bigger in Texas. This is a really wide 1.5 miles. It's wider than Charlotte. It's wider than Atlanta. And it's got some interesting characteristics. I mean, back in the day, IndyCar, or IRL, I think it was at the time, didn't even want to run here because the speeds were too fast. This track has always put on a good show. I think it still puts on a good show when it has the right characteristics with the new reconfiguration, but Classic Texas is, it's just a chef's kiss of a different touch, man. It's lovely.
On board here with Kyle Tubb currently. One car crashing, 2 cars crashing ahead of him there, and that was a massive hit. Oh my gosh, Nick Ham in the 88 going to need a chiropractic readjustment there after all of that. And honestly, it ought to have been the chiropractic readjustment, Zach, but, I mentioned to Josh Conover and to Brady Moats pre-race, before you get the broadcast started actually, that we would be making a slight change to the Power Rankings graphic here today, and hopefully beyond if it's well received. Let's go ahead and take a look at it, Zach. Uh-oh, hang on. Did I didn't put it in a different graphics bin, did I? Hang on, that was anticlimactic. Give me a moment, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. But we have made an adjustment to the graphic. Just give me a few seconds to slot it in here. Can you guess what it's going to be, I suppose, while we wait in suspense?
Different colors, different styles.
Well, actually, you know what? This is a good segue. This is last week's graphic. Just look at this for a second. Take this in. This is going into last week's race at Martinsville. And I think one thing worth noticing certainly would be that Hunter Sr. on top, 65.4 was his score going into Martinsville. For Dustin Kleva, 62.7. Keep those numbers in mind. Let's take that graphic down. Let's put this graphic up. And there you see the new version, the updated power rankings. Well, Zach, you got to watch the other screen share. That's why. There's 2 screen shares, 2 production feeds. But you'll see the new power rankings with some position gained marks, basically. It was a squeeze to fit them in, but you can see Dustin Kleva has moved up a spot, and that has brought Hunter Sr. down. You might be wondering how if you watched last week's race at Martinsville, because Dustin Kleva did not race. His score did actually drop by not racing. Hunter Sr.'s dropped more because of his lower finish. Kleva didn't ruin any of his averages, he just hasn't started on the races now, so he didn't really lose much there in missing that race last week. That is why he is still, or has moved up on top, only lost a little bit there in his score. But now you can kind of see a little bit more. I know it's really small for the phone users. Hopefully you can pick out a color. I'm still trying to work out the best way to present this. But it's something we're working on, something we're going to try and find the right balance of here in the next couple of weeks, and try to show a little more context as to how each driver gets to where they are in the power rankings.
Yeah, I like the little added details. I think it provides more for the viewer, which I like to see. I think it gives them a little bit more context. We've seen in recent years that more and more these broadcasters like NBC, Fox, Prime, they're doing things that are more intuitive for the viewer. And I like it. It gives it a nice little flair.
Of course, qualifying was last week, so with practice wrapping up with Durham and Tucker on top, we will not go into a qualifying session. Instead, it's straight into the race here at the Great American Speedway. I like that tagline. I'm going to keep using it here tonight. Let's get down, though, to the starting grid as these drivers, well, load onto the grid themselves and meet our starting grid for these 300 miles upcoming at Texas Motor Speedway. On pole, Kenneth Chaney. Oh boy, he might be one. Well, certainly if he qualified on pole, he's one to watch for the win here today. I did not expect that out of the 14 car. I briefly looked over the lineup for today, and the outliers to me were the 96 and 34. I didn't notice the 14 on top. So Kenneth Chaney leading us to the green here in just a couple of moments. You'll have Dustin Stallings over his right shoulder, and back in row 2, I thought at first I saw the 34 on here. No, it was just a 3 and 4, but in reverse order. The 4 on the inside, that's Hunter Sr. The 3 on the outside, that's Dalton Tucker. Back in row 3 is where we'll find the 34 car. Brendan Maddox will start on the outside of Kevin Baumler. From here on back, for the most part, for a couple of rows at least, it's going to be mostly drivers we've been talking about all season long, but we do have a couple of other newcomers deeper in the field. There's Chase Durham in the 16. I got a feeling about him today, Zach. I don't know why, but especially replicating the win with Jeff Gordon and Vincent Arthur at Martinsville a week ago, I'm kind of feeling something about the 16 replicating that win from 05 here tonight. Kyle Tubb will start on his outside, and back to complete the top 10, you'll have Brad Fulham and Wayne Sparks.
Rolling outside the top 10, you'll find Brady Motes and Ryan Housden in 11th and 12th position. They're looking to build on some strong runs they had at Martinsville before it fell away. Chance Durham starts in that 13th position with Ronnie Norman to his outside in the 14th position. So 7 double up there in 14th position. Josh Conover, one of the drivers that we've seen running up front. A little bit of a lackluster qualifying performance, I'll say. So looking to rebound with Cody Anderson to his outside in the 16th position. Rolling off 17th, you'll find Kyle Rochelle and John Skavnicki to his outside in the 18th position. So that's going to be row number 9. With row number 10 rounding out, you'll find Joseph Andujar III and Matthew George in the 20th position.
Back in the 21st, you'll find Craig Martin in that number 22 car. It was a rough day for Scott Wimmer at Texas back in 05, but on the outside of him, you'll find the number 88, not Dale Jarrett, instead Nick Ham. Hopefully the chiropractor has done him some good. Jake Christenbury rolls off from 23rd spot alongside teammate Jacob Gladgelich, and back in row 13, it's Nick Geilis and LJ Hernandez, making one of his part-time starts in the number 6. John Border, Vincent Arthur, that's row 14, last week's winner, buried deep in the field here today, while Jared Skinner and Brian Jones will make up row 15.
31st on the night, you'll find Donald Kite with Brandon Jackson to his outside in the 32nd position. Christopher Heights and Aaron Longworth out in 33rd and 34th. Aaron Longworth, that's a newcomer here on the season so far. 35th, you'll find PJ Bazowski and Samuel Longworth to his outside in the 36th position. And then that is actually your full starting lineup, 36 cars here at Texas. Now, Andrew, I don't know if I want to call it the Great American Speedway, because wouldn't that kind of confuse with the Great American Race, Daytona International Speedway, you know, kind of double dipping there?
I don't make the rules. They called it the Great American Speedway back in 05. Hey, it's 2005 in NORA land,
so the flag stand.
It's the, yeah, there you go, the Great American Speedway here at Texas Motor Speedway. Of those newcomers that I mentioned, well, you got to call them out there on the grid. There's Aaron Longworth in the number 41 for Chip Ganassi Racing, and the number 29 is finally on the racetrack here this season. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago we were waiting for Tyler DeTalent to make it into the series. It seems like maybe he has had to back out for this season, but Samuel Longworth now bringing the 29 to the racetrack in the NORA Retro Cup Series here this season, and that is just a car that belongs on the racetrack, I feel like, so good to see that it's 29 now in the field. As we get ready to go racing for 200 laps here at Texas Motor Speedway, here's a look at your Whiplash SimCam's race details. We'll take a look at the weather briefly, but 200 laps, 300 miles, 77% fuel as we've gotten used to. It's all about the same as last week and all the weeks prior, but those weather conditions, Zach, it has warmed up slightly, very slightly, about a degree of track temp. We'll monitor this as the day goes on. It seems like it might be one of these cooler races for these guys. A little more grip out there, I'm sure, will go a long way. I'm sure the drivers will enjoy that at least a little bit. We'll turn the music down and turn the engines up, Texas style. Everything is bigger down in TX. Green flag at Texas Motor Speedway. Oh, one slow on the inside. That's the 07 of Joseph Andujar. Turn 3 already. Kenneth Chaney driving away from this field just a little bit. How about Hunter Sr. in second? Dustin Stallings drops to third. And already that number 3 car, Dalton Tucker, trying to go forward.
And Brendan Maddox stuck on the outside with Kevin Baumler to his inside, but that looks like it's going to clear up ever so slightly. And now, look at Durham. You called him out, Andrew. You have put the pressure and the target on the back of the 16 to replicate what Greg Biffle did nearly, well, actually more than 20 years ago. And he's doing just that. He went behind and passed the 81. Now he's passing the 34 of Brendan Maddox, and he has put that 16 car up into the top 5. And you got to remember, Andrew, 2005 going into 06, 07, and 08 is when Roush Fenway, or Roush Fenway Kozlowski Racing as it's known now, was in their powerhouse era. They had 5 cars. They took up half the chase in, I think it was 2005 actually, and absolutely ran away with race win after race win after race win.
Yeah, these were the good old days for those Roush Fenway Fords, and the number 16, Chase Durham, trying to keep that alive. Of course, we haven't seen much out of his brother Chance Durham since California. He's had a couple of decent runs here and there, but you know, the difference in the power ranking, you know, when I'm editing the spreadsheet and, you know, punching in results and stuff, you know, Chase Durham is a front runner each and every week. Nothing against Chance, but frankly, Zach, he's down, I think, 25th in the power rankings, and right now on track, he's in the top 10, but I just, based on his really hot start to the season, I expected he'd be closer to victory lane by now, along with his brother Chase at the front of the field, but something just not yet clicking for the number 17. I say that, and he drops to the inside here of Kyle Tubb, looking for the 8th position.
Yeah, but you saw how difficult it was for him to actually be able to get there compared to the other drivers that are having a bit of an easier time trying to move forward. He seemed to run a little bit higher in 3 and 4 and take a later arc into the corner. You can see he's even giving up about half a lane on entry into turn 3, and just comparatively on exit, it feels like he's struggling in that 17 car right now. Tubbs going to get back to the outside, and even Brady Motes closed in a tad on corner exit there off of 4. So you got to think, what's going through his head? What's he got for an early race strategy, and where can he go as he now starts to pull away from the 2 cars fighting behind him?
And to check your history there, Zach, yes, Roush Fenway Racing did make up an exact half of the chase field back in 2005 with Mark Martin qualifying alongside Matt Kenseth, Greg Biffle, Kurt Busch, who was of course the defending champion, and Carl Edwards. The other drivers in the chase that year, let's see, Ryan Newman, Jimmy Johnson,
Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson,
Rusty Wallace, Jeremy Mayfield, and Tony Stewart. There was no Jeff Gordon in the chase that year.
What? No, hold on. He won the 2005 Daytona 500. He won Martin's. How did he not make the chase?
I'm telling you, Matt Kenseth, Mark Martin, Kurt Busch, Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle, Jimmy Johnson, Rusty Wallace, Carl Edwards, Jeremy Mayfield, and Tony Stewart. Of course, Stewart went on to win the championship. But 7 laps into this race, and we are spread out towards the front. The first real big fight is back here for about the 12th or 13th spot. Rochelle passed up now by Housden, and then some racing even behind here with Ronnie Norman back in the 17th spot, Brad Fulham behind him, and Vincent Arthur trying to march through the field. Zach, I'm surprised to have seen Vincent so far down the qualifying order.
Yeah, and I was just about to say I'm surprised to see our defending race winner from last week so far down the field. It's just wildly unexpected, to be perfectly honest. I'm sure that 24 car is going to work on his race strategy as there's cars in the wall up in front and find his way further forward. I mean,
yeah, the other part of this, though, not just did he start in 28th, he's up 10 spots in less than 10 laps.
Oh, okay. I was not looking at the race graphic down at the bottom. But you want to know something too, Andrew. 2 cars, 3 cars-ish behind that 24 car, you'll find Brian Jones, who was also one driver that we saw contending for race wins. He won Atlanta not too long ago, as you see Scavnicki grab the wall, letting 24 car slide down underneath into 3. Brian Jones is a little bit further down the running order than we expected to see him this early on in the race. I think he's going to look forward to trying to fight that 45 car up towards the front.
Checking out this battle with Scavnicki and I almost said Gordon Arthur there in the 24, who drops down to the inside. Meanwhile, side by side here, Brady Motes and Josh Conover, a couple of the main admin team drivers. Of course, Josh Conover kind of the man behind all of this, but he's got the new addition to the family, so other admins try to step in a little bit, help him relieve some of the effort from himself, take it off of his shoulders. Brady Motes one of them. They're running 9th and 10th currently. A good start for the admins here in the field. Chance Durheim, meanwhile, starting to put some pressure on Kevin Baumler ahead. This is for 7th spot. And Zach, don't look now, but here very soon we could be talking about a battle between teammates for the race lead.
It's possible. It's well possible. Senior and Cheney running up towards the front. That 4 car has actually tracked that 14 down and is riding in his coattails through 1 and 2. Cheney is trying to find a way to keep that car in the clean air because his teammate is coming on strong. Stalling still holding tough in that 3rd spot. We ride on board with Hunter Sr. as he throws that car into turn number 3. He is really closing in on entry. And that 14 car is just rotating very, very well through center off corner exit. Just watch the ticker on the left-hand side. Look at how much the gap closes going into the center. Well, it didn't close that much that time, but look how much pulls. Couple hundreds here and there, couple hundreds here and there. Now working it back down the straightaway, back into 3 and 4. There's the throw-in, gains a little bit, puts it under 0.3 of a second, loses the nose in the center, back up to 0.3 the gap to the car in front.
Problems for one car. This is the 32 going backwards. Kyle Tubb was top 10 to get the day started. He has dropped all the way to 19th, make it 20th as the 22 rips on by. I'm not entirely sure what's just gone on for the 32, but even here comes Brian Jones on the outside now. He is struggling all of a sudden. If I had to guess, Zach, I would think he made contact with the outside wall about a lap ago out of turn 2. Let's see here. This is racing with Cody Anderson in the 33. Tubb on the outside. Boom, outside wall. Hello, that'll wake you up. Now, by this stage in the race back in 05, these guys already would have had a couple of cautions working on their 3rd coming up soon. One of them was the 07 of Dave Blaney very early. Thankfully, these guys getting into a rhythm, it seems, so far in this race. course, they're not running the full 334 laps they would have run. And I'm appreciative of that, of course, because these races can still sometimes go on for a while. 300 laps or 300 miles here, it's still a long ways to go. But I gotta say, they are doing a fantastic job of getting into a rhythm. And I would very much like to see, I hope I'm not jinxing anything too soon, I'd like to see these two up front as teammates have to work the strategy game against one another. Wouldn't that be fun?
Like seeing teammates work too much against each other this early on in the race. I feel like they'd be better off working together as the race goes on.
Over a long run. You know, if this thing were to go green, I'd love to see these guys have to figure out how to beat one another. They're, of course, as you said, they're fair. Teammates. Usually they would work together, but if they're racing for the win, somebody's got to win this thing.
True. However, I don't know. I don't got a rebuttal. Team points.
So nearly 20 laps into this race, we do have a battle starting to pick up for the third spot. At number 3, creeping into the picture, Dalton Tucker. I think a lot of the league veterans are starting to realize this is kind of late in the season for him to not have more top 5s, even a win. And honestly, I think the points kind of reflect that he just has not had that great of a start to this season. He is 9th. He has crawled himself back into the top 10, but you know, at one point, a few races in, he was sitting on the outside of the tentative chase line, and we've seen how quick he can be. I mean, we know he's got the pace. That's never a question, Zach. Last week, it came down to tire choice between he and Vincent Arthur. What will it be today? He was joking in the Discord channels earlier, you know, our Who You Got post should be really, how is the 3 car going to lose the race? And, well, here, Stallings has now moved up the racetrack despite being an opening for the 3 car to go up to 3rd place. But so far, the 3 looks good. And I really do got to wonder, how is he going to lose this one today?
Well, that's a question right there. Who knows? I think I'm going to be opposing the Chaos Bringer and say Tucker is going to be contending for the win by the end of the race.
Oh my gosh, Zach, you said that and he immediately blinked. If that was it, if he dropped the connection right there, he'd have been coming for you. But Dalton Tucker continues on. Small blink in turn 3 out of the way. These guys keep racing. Not too many battles at the front of the field, but we do have this fight. Take a look at this. This is the 38 of Scavdicki working on the 12 of Rochelle. Now, Ryan Newman won the pole for this race back in 2005.
Rocket Man!
Always so good at qualifying.
You saw Tubb in the wall back there a little bit on the back straightaway behind these guys. He's going to get passed up here by Guileless in the 28. Here you see it right out of camera shot behind this fight. And now he's falling into the clutches of the Joe Gibbs Racing Machine, that number 18. See him right there on the back bumper as we ride on board with the 28. Little sideways right there.
Not just a little sideways. Guileless bobbled big time.
Yeah, that was a big wiggle. Jackson's going to go on by on the bottom. This is right in front of him. That 22 of Craig Martin hanging tough. Brian Jones down to the inside of Scavnicki. He's looking to pick that spot up. Keep himself in contention as the race goes on. I think the biggest thing that we're going to see, Andrew, if this race were to stay green, I don't want to, start anything yet, so I'm going to knock on wood. If this race does stay green, these guys moving up to the front as the run goes on, I feel like they're going to be the ones to watch. So you're looking at Jones, you're looking at Arthur, you're looking at Sparks, Conover, even Maddox, honestly, because he's picked up a spot or two. I think you're going to be looking at these guys in terms of tires, because once they get to the front of the field, and then we have a tire reset with green flag stops, they're going to be at their peak, and they're going to have the track position that they've worked so hard to get over the course of this run. So, realistically, they could be, theoretically, almost unstoppable.
I will say it is worth looking at the 34, Brendan Maddox. I noticed these two teammates were trying the outside of the racetrack more in practice than really anybody else that I saw. Yeah, we made the effort to get in here a little bit sooner, take a little more of a look at practice, and I noticed the 34 and the 96 working up the racetrack, trying out the higher lanes a little more than anybody else, as there's LJ Hernandez down on the apron. By the way, Zach, I don't know if they were from incidents or not, but we have had some stuff in the background. Yeah, there's the number 31 out of the race, 21 laps down, so lap 5 or so there for PJ Bozowski. Aaron Longworth, also a long stay in the pit lane. He is now 35th, 20 laps down. He's been back on the racetrack for about 3 laps. And then LJ Hernandez, you saw just get back on the racetrack. He is only 2 laps down. Something recently happened to him. Unsure exactly what's gone on for each of those drivers. Of course, we have a lot to focus on here at 36 Cars today, but they've had some issues. There's a battle now between Gillis and Fulham with the 18 all over the place. That is Brandon Jackson, who's been very part-time this season. This was another bad race for Bobby Labonte back in 05. He was crashing about 4 straight, it seemed like, at one point, and well, this was another one on that list of bad races that ended in a crash for the number 18 that year. Oh, teammates here. Cody Anderson, Ryan Housden in the fence. Here comes Arthur on the inside.
Big move down to the bottom. Is he going to get the 2-for-1 special? He might.
Whole bunch of Chevrolets here in 3 and 4.
Oh,
Bob on him, Arthur. Here comes Ronnie Norman. He wants to find a way through. He's going to bide his time for now. What a view he's got. And you know, Zach, I think for a long time, I just kind of got used to stage racing. Obviously introduced by NASCAR back in, what, 2017. It's been around for a while now, but I just kind of got used to it. But every time we load up for one of these races and we get about 30 laps in, just like we are now, I get to thinking, who's going to win this stage? And then I remind myself mentally, oh, wait, we don't have a stage. It's just running straight to the end. Really, we got to think about when these guys are going to pit first. And thankfully, Josh Conover and Brady Motes were kind enough to let us know these guys can run about 38 to 42 laps on a tank, somewhere in there, depending on if they're running it straight up or if they're saving any fuel. I would guess these guys are trying to be somewhat conservative, but also try to keep pace underneath them. I'm going to think about 40 laps.
Well, we are approaching that fuel window, so we'll have to wait and see. Oh, look at that, going down to turn 3. Teammates Maddox and Stallings, they were side by side. Stallings is going to get Maddox.
I think that was actually LJ Hernandez maybe with one of them. There's 3 blue and black Fords in a string, but
ooh, that might have been actually then.
Watching some of the static shots around the racetrack, you can see these guys are starting to battle with the cars just a little bit more. And we got a pit stop early. Nick Gillis to the pit lane in the number 28. This seems like it might just be an early stop. I wouldn't call it unscheduled. Nobody else with him yet. It's just a little bit early to fit into the rest of the plan, I guess. But Zach, he could be trying to break this down into even segments. 33 would be a 1/6 of the race complete here, so maybe that's the play.
No. I don't really like pitting early. I've never truly been a big fan of it. The only time that I think short pitting realistically has a good way of working is maybe in a longer run towards the end of the race, where you're going to have to pit anyway, and you don't want to pit with just a few laps to go because you're not going to be able to get the heat in the tires you need to chase down the leaders in front of you if you're, trying something different. Speaking of trying something different, Baumler to the outside, rolling that top line to find a run and get wherever he can to pass that 34 car right in front of him of Brendan Maddox. And Andrew, you brought it up at the start of the show about how Brendan Maddox is running those early Front Row Motorsports colors, those early times that team was just a fledgling team in the sport. And when the whole situation of starting and parking started and NASCAR had to find a way to step in as Baumler's looking away by the 34, I'm sure you remember the time of when teams were literally showing up to the track, they were buying their tires, They'd only buy maybe a set or two, whatever they needed to get through the weekend. They'd show up, they'd qualify, they would make the show, they'd run 5 laps, they'd park it, and they'd walk out of there with a profit because it paid so much to finish last.
None of that here on a Monday night on iRacing. You don't get paid to finish last in the NORA Retro Cup Series, so that's a big difference, of course, from reality, and that's part of why, of course, alongside the fact that these guys are all in equal equipment, part of why you see, for example, the 14 and 4 up front in what is supposed to be a 2005 NASCAR Cup Series. Speaking on that, Kenneth Cheney still leading, but Dalton Tucker, as you see, has just worked by Hunter Sr. LJ Hernandez with a big save there off the corner, right in front of his teammate Chase Durheim. Durheim's got a mirror full of Dustin Stallings. This could be a fun little fight for 4th. Ooh, Stallings just grabbed the wall there on entry to 1. 2 pit stops this lap, maybe more, yeah, plenty more. Arthur, Anderson, Rochelle, and Andujar all pit. Here's the move, though, for Dustin Stallings for 4th place on Chase Durheim. Late in the run, he's going to grab this spot. Well, here's some of the cars in the pit lane. There you see them. We're going to add Kristen Berry and Chase Durheim comes in. Josh Conover comes in. The 5 of Wayne Sparks is in. There's the 17 of Chance Durheim. The 38 of John Skavnicki. Now, Josh Conover, he's been fantastic lately, Zach. I think he's going to be kind of an underdog story this year because he's had great pace, but it's usually kind of like 2nd, 3rd, 4th place pace, right? There's always somebody who feels like they're just a little bit faster than the 48 car. Lately, that's been either Vincent Arthur or Dalton Tucker. Let's see if that changes today or at least sometime soon. I feel like Conover is on the edge of having some race-winning pace. Just needs some things to go right, as here's Dalton Tucker and more, including Stallings and Maddox, into their boxes. And Stallings, a slight readjustment. Motes is in, Housden is in, George is in.
Well, Andrew, I will say, as Tucker pulls away and Maddox gets out in front, don't let Conover hear you say that he has not been in contention. We'll say, well, no, he has been in contention. Just, I think he definitely has that race-winning pace as Cheney is into the box, Senior's into the box, Baumler's into the box. They're up on the jack. You see Craig Martin in his box in the background, along with a few others like Jacob Gladulich. There's Tubb in. Now, to your point, I think things that would allow Conover to actually win races is stop having kids. In the middle of the race, that is.
Well, I don't think he has to worry about that, but something that Kenneth Cheney has to worry about is Dalton Tucker and Chase Durheim both passing him. Big lead change here in the pit lane. Dalton Tucker just sails on by the 14 car, and he will now take point on lap 41 of 200. That is a significant pass we made here this early in the race, and shows why you want to pit just a little bit sooner than everybody else. But yeah, I never said that Josh Conover wasn't in the mix or in contention. He certainly is. It just feels like there's always 1 or 2 guys who have just slightly better pace than him. I think the results have shown that. Conover's been great. He did even have to pull off while leading at one point at Atlanta. Maybe that's why Brian Jones won that race, but I don't know. It just seems like Josh certainly can win a race, but typically there's always just 1 or 2 guys a little bit faster. Lately it's been the 3 and 24, and it might be that way again here tonight. The 3 car looking really, really good.
I can certainly say that green flag pit stops went off without a hitch. Nobody got a black flag except for the 29. And I'm not sure how that's going to be completely served. It looks like the black flag is gone, but the 29 is currently sitting 2 laps down, so it might have been a pass-through or a hold in the pit lane. So he's going to have to work back from that. Currently sitting in the 34th position. Gladulich off the pace. Where did he go?
He hangs on to it. A little bit loose there off of 2 maybe. Lost a spot there to his teammate Brandon Jackson, but slots back in line in 23rd spot. Joseph Andujar having a bit of a career day here, Zach. At least from what we've seen so far this season, the 07 has just been off. all 6 races to get this year started. But so far, he is getting close to a top 20 right here. He started pretty well as well. I mean, yeah, started 19th. So yeah, he's lost a few spots since the start of the race, but he's starting to recoup some of those. Granted, here comes Donald Kite on the inside to make it 3 wide. Watch out off the corner.
Woof.
And Andujar gets away.
Talk about a run right there. You know, Andrew, we're almost a quarter of the way through this race already, too. We've been green all the way through. Let me knock on wood again. Just trying to offset the Chaos Bringer and his bringing of chaos. And as I say that, a little bit of fighting up in front of our leader. This is a 4-car battle for the most part. You see Heights right there trying to stay on the lead lap. He's going to give way to the 3-car. Ham running down the bottom with Border right in front of him. And then that's Skinner right up the road. All these guys falling further and further behind, now going laps down. Now they're all so close together, Andrew, they're going to try to fight to be that first car 1 lap down and not have to worry about trying to fight for a lap back later on in a run.
And this is something drivers talked about at length even last week at Martinsville, especially last week at Martinsville. The lap cars were really a pain, especially on those restarts. It really hindered the leaders. Tonight, you even see Jared Skinner, who won back at, what was it, Las Vegas? Is that where he won? Or no, that was it was California where Jared Skinner won that race.
Yeah,
because
Skinner
Hunter
won
Sr. won
California.
Daytona and then Las Vegas. So yeah, Hunter Sr., California winner. He's about to go a lap down here by lap 50. But these lap cars, this is the trouble, especially with the single file restarts. It was a product of the time, and we want to replicate that. I think it's got a place in racing, perhaps, but it comes with some challenges as well, especially on short tracks. It's going to hold the leaders up on restarts because guys want to run their races, and it's their right to run their race. It just becomes a slight challenge. It's very IndyCar-esque, where, you know, especially when you go to Indianapolis and the other ovals of the schedule, you will see lappers fight the leaders a bit. They do not want to go that lap down. They're going to keep fighting because it can help their race. And I think that's, again, more commonplace on the Indy circuit. You see that in IndyCar racing a little more, and they have that right to fight a bit more. In NASCAR, in the last, I'd say, probably even 18 years since NASCAR went to double file restarts, probably 17 years actually, things have changed. And I think now there's a stigma around being a lapped car, but everybody's running their race. If you go to endurance racing, Zach, the lappers, they're still going to fight. And there goes Jared Skinner, 1 lap down.
I feel like there's a different respect in road racing like IMSA or Formula One compared to something like NASCAR. You know, especially with NASCAR's recent push on the hell yeah movement, where it's kind of sticking back to its roots, where it was elbows out, white knuckle racing here and there, like the short tracks have nowadays, and you know, it's kind of, like we said, getting back to its roots. And these guys, they grew, at least the guys that we see racing now, they grew up on a different respect, where it was, you know, give them a little bumper here and there, move them up out of the way. Now the respect has kind of turned into something a little different, at least on the stock car side. But when you get over to road racing, it's you kind of just have to let them go. There's no really, I know you said they fight in IMSA, but at the same time they also have the rules of you have to let the leaders go within 3 blue flag stands. It's,
well, that's
I
really
guess it's just letting
Formula
them have
One
their
that you're
fight.
getting into there. That is really
Well,
staunch about
yeah.
the blue flag.
That
They
is true.
really enforce it in Formula racing, and it certainly makes sense. Obviously, contact in those cars is much more detrimental than it is here at a stock car. For example, even a sports car that's full-bodied with fenders, you're not going to see the same kind of carnage. But back to some more pertinent points, I think. We're of course, watching this race 53 laps in now. Dalton Tucker leads, Chase Durhines second. They were each on the Who You Got post on Facebook earlier today. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how this ends up working out between these two. The battle you're watching, though, is Dustin Stallings and Hunter Sr., and this is starting to pick up. Stallings was literally just on the back bumper of Josh Conover a couple of laps ago. Now Sr. wants to go by for this 6th position, and Sr. was looking up at Cheney before the pit stops like he wanted the lead, and now he just gets by Dustin Stallings, who has that slide off of turn 2. And Hunter Sr. jumps up into 6th. He has slightly, and I do mean slightly better tires than most of the cars ahead, but it's only by a couple of laps. Meanwhile, Brian Jones, Ronnie Norman, this is a fight for 13th. Ronnie Norman is somebody I want to see more out of for sure. He's in the Jim Beam Black number 7 here today. I feel like it would be a kind of fun spoiler win if the 7 got a win this season. And I think he is certainly capable of doing so.
Ronnie Norman has had some solid momentum so far. We take a little bit further back. This is Tubb and Skapnicki fighting down into turn number 1.
18th. Oh, and look behind him. Martin. Oh.
I thought Martin was in the middle there for a second, but he was actually clear of both of them from behind. Gets under Geilis, goes for it, and you called it, Andrew. That early stop from Geilis, I think it's really starting to show on the tire wear. These guys have about 5, 6, 7 laps on tires compared to that 28 car. So where was the mentality, realistically speaking, on where that strategy was going to work out for him?
It definitely does not look like it's working for now, but let's give it some time, especially if this race stays as green flag as it has been so far. Anything can still happen, and there's always an opportunity for a caution to come in and kind of reset things for him. In fact, these two have been battling and swapping spots the last couple of laps, Brendan Maddox and Josh Conover. And Conover had recently nosed ahead of the 34, but clearly Maddox is making him work for it. Maddox, a Texas native, now lives in Oklahoma. He's still going to fight for his Texas heritage, that's for sure. You might notice that Cody Smith has been a very good driver so far this season. He is not here today. Sounds like the iRacing update got the best of him too, Zach.
Yes, the iRacing updates.
And LG Hernandez just got called into work.
Oh, we got our first caution.
We do.
Spinning. Front straightaway. It's Border.
Border and Heights. Been a rough season for each of those two drivers. Of course, if you recall, back at Daytona International Speedway to get the season started, John Border had the hardware malfunction that sent him through several cars where his screen froze, and he ended up plowing through a large portion of the field in that race, and that was certainly a kind of a stain on the 43 to get the season started. He's turned it around a bit since then. But Christopher Heights has just had bad race after bad race, and now you see a whole bunch of damage on that number 2 car. Let's go back and see what happened between these two. And if anybody else was involved here, they were on the outside of Dustin Stallings. They had already been lapped. Heights goes high. Border kind of came back up. They just met, and wow, that is certainly suboptimal.
Right on the outside of Dustin Stallings. He gets clear of them. Vincent Arthur right behind the two of them as well. Just them meet in the middle. A little bit of contact, man. Ooh, saw Vincent Arthur almost getting to Kevin Baumler underneath him trying to avoid the incident. That could have been far worse than what it was.
One more look here at the 43 and 2 cars. The 43 just got loose when it came back up. The 2 was there. And so they end up sliding to a stop there on the outside of turn number 1, each with a bunch of damage to their race cars. And that will be not quite the end of their days, but certainly a big bump in the road. Everybody in now for service. 4 tires and fuel, I'm sure, for everybody involved here. Chase Durheim ahead of Josh Conover, but Dalton Tucker going to win the race off pit lane. Kenneth Cheney slots in line there 3rd off the pits. while Jacob Gladulich does his customary stay out, and he will assume the race lead at least for a moment. While we're under this caution, Zach, 62 laps in this next time by, I want to give a big thank you to our partners here at the channel, of course, Whiplash Simcams, MX Wraps, ATVL, Murtis Esports, CC's Business, and the North American Racing League. And I want to take a look at what's upcoming for us here at the channel. Next up, after this evening's race here at Texas Motor Speedway, we actually take a trip out to Martinsville Speedway once again. So we were just at Martinsville a week ago here for NORA, and then later this weekend, we head out to Martinsville with NASCAR Next Gen Cup cars in the All-American Racing Network Cup Series. I'm excited for that. Always a good time when we're going to Martinsville Speedway here on the sim or in real life. And next Monday, I talked about it earlier with the schedule and such. Unfortunately, it won't be under the lights, Zach, but we will be talking about Phoenix International Raceway next week, and I'm excited. I wish we could go racing under the lights, but what are you going to do? Then, of course, you see even farther out Bristol Motor Speedway for March the 19th, or sorry, not the 19th, 29th, for the All-American Racing Network. A couple of short tracks in their future, and really shorter tracks in general, too, half miles and a mile here between these next three broadcasts on the channel.
I didn't notice that.
You can follow everything Pit Stop TV with the social media links at the bottom of your screen. But here we go, out of turn number 4. We'll get a fresh look at some green flag racing, perhaps. The number 3 of Dalton Tucker going to lead us back to the restart zone. PJ Bazowski down low, along with Samuel Longworth. Those are lapped cars. Green flag back in the air. Racing again after 63 of 200. Now that we're back green flag racing, Zach, let's do something we haven't done yet this evening. Let's go Pit Stop TV, Sounds of the Sim. And we'll come right back to this fight for the race lead. Chase Durheim gets the best of Dalton Tucker, at least that lap. This is great racing between these two. We just wanted to give you guys some sounds of the sim there. Might do it again later because that one was cut short by the 16 powering the inside of the 3-car here.
Hanging tough on the outside line. Tucker trying to hang on to what he has earned throughout the course of this race. Durheim trying to kind of elevate himself to the comments you made earlier. I'll say, I know he can't hear us in the race car, but I'm sure he is pushing for everything he's got in that 16 machine. You've got Cheney and Conover right behind, and then it's Senior and Maddox fighting it out. Stalling still in the top 10. Vincent Arthur, Cody Anderson, and Brian Jones have worked into the top 10. This is starting to turn into one heck of a race now.
I know you said that Chase Durheim can't hear us, and conventionally that might be true, but these guys, they can play the broadcast in the background on their PC. They certainly can listen in if they'd like. I know some drivers do that. Maybe Chase is listening to us. Maybe he's getting that motivation from us talking about the fact that 16 car won this race 21 years ago. Just kind of following along right now. I think these guys are Trying to race too
Spinning,
hard.
14 car, down in turn number 3. He's back up on the racetrack.
Oh, wow. Moats, Durheim, and more. Saw a couple of bits of contact even after all of that. Andujar slow, and there's the number 8.
That is junk central. Both front tires disconnected.
Matthew George into the pit lane to try and miss it. Joseph Andujar, he's got a bunch of damage. He's going to bring you down to the grass. Wow. And Cheney has already called it quits. He's out of the session. Let's see here. Here's Cheney racing with Josh Conover behind. He was running third. Big block to the inside and contact there. I can see why, if you're in the 14 car, you might be upset with that. Oh my gosh, but you just can't do that.
Oh, buddy.
That is a really tough spot for all of these guys to be in. Of course, he's going to throw the block on Josh Conover. Right here, Conover peaks down low. Then ends up hitting him in the right rear. That sends the 14 car spinning. Obviously, he never intended for any of this to happen. And then Cheney sells the wheel crank to the right. It comes back up. Clips Wayne Sparks, Brady Moats. They had a bunch more get involved. Oh, Joseph Andujar came in from a mile back and clobbered. I think that was the 31 or the 81. First up, the 5 car. Wayne Sparks, here he is. He's behind Kevin Baumler into the corner. That was a 31 that was involved in that further back. You see Wayne gets clipped. He was able to keep on going, Zach, and that car looks okay. He literally just got clipped. It was not so lucky to be the other drivers involved in this. So here's a look at it for Brady Moats. It's about a lap before it happens. Another bad day for him, has gotten so much worse.
He was big time loose coming off of turn number 2. There's the spin. Cheney comes right back up onto the racetrack and nowhere to go.
Chance Durheim with a big hit. And let's get a look at this from Joseph Andujar's perspective. I've known this guy in iRacing for a better part of 10 years. Nearly 10 years, actually, as of this year. Unfortunately, though, this was a misread by him. He kept rolling the top side. And I mean, he should not have throttled back up right there and ends up clobbering the 31 into the 28 as well of Guileless. That was just a bad read on Joseph's part, and one that I'm sure he wished he had back. Let's go on board here briefly with the 48 of Conover if we can. Let's go a little further back. I want to listen. Well, hang on. Did I go too far back? What is going on here? Nothing is working. We're live now. Okay, we'll just roll with it. Nothing, everything broke right there, but we're restarting. Here we go. It's not often I'm left speechless by the broadcast software we use, but that was very odd behavior regardless. We're back green anyways, Zach. Dalton Tucker with the lead. Hunter Sr. way up top. Tucker Sr., Housden, Guileless, and Martin all stayed out. Chase Durheim, the first driver on tires. He's got 4.
Look at Hunter Sr. ripping that top line. Got a big run on the 3 cars. The 31 of Bazowski is back on the racetrack. Senior takes a look down to the bottom. Now they're going to be side by side for the race lead here.
Bazowski goes high. These two battle. Hunter Sr. trying to get the nose ahead. He's got it there by 1,000th or 2. Hunter Sr. led that lap by the slimmest of margins, and they stay side by side now, turns 1 and 2. Dalton Tucker got real free on the outside of the corner there. He's still going to have the run down the back straightaway.
Side by side. Tucker with a big run off of turn number 4. Still hanging tough. He gets clear of the 4 car. Back down into 1 and 2. Hunter Sr. not able to get as much of a run as he got last time. Really, if any run, doesn't pull up alongside of the 3, but here comes Durheim. He's clear of Housden. Pushing his way forward in that 16 car. He was running up for the race lead, and he wants to go try and do it again.
Chase Durheim trying to run these 2 down and bring those better tires forward. It's about a 9-lap tire difference. Of course, there's some caution laps in there, so it's hard to be perfectly exact, but here it goes. Durheim to the outside of the Ford Senior. Starting to look at least. Hunter Senior down low at the advantage now. Tucker up high still.
Here comes Durheim through the middle.
Senior to the lead. Durheim won second. And at the line, it's still Tucker, but not for long. Here comes the 16 car.
Look at Housden. He's in the mix too. Trying to find a way from 4th back up to the front.
Vincent Arthur in the top 10. Craig Martin running 5th currently. How about that? Brandon Jackson in the top 10. Brian Jones in the top 10. As Dalton Tucker will finally relinquish that spot to Chase Durheim, who now tries to run down the 4 car of Hunter Sr. Here we go. I'll look now from the 16 to turn 3. Senior, nothing he can do but let the 16 get down there, and Chase Durheim get a point right on by. Lap 79. The number 16 gets back out front of the NORA Retro Cup Series field. Now at Texas Motor Speedway. Starts some of the battles in the top 10. Teammates here, Brendan Maddox, Dustin Stallings. Maddox behind, Stallings ahead. Looks like a little bit of damage there on the left rear of Maddox's car.
Where he got that.
Hard to say. Then you got Brandon Jackson back here with Wazowski on the outside. This is a lap car. Ryan Jones behind for position. Jacob Gladgelich racing with Kevin Baumler. This is one of the best and farthest forward battles for position currently on the racetrack. Rochelle now pokes to the inside.
Took a lunge to the inside right there into 3. Let's see if he can find a way forward. He gets to the inside of the 20 of Gladgelich. Keeps that momentum up going down into turn number 1. Is he going to get clear? Probably not. Gladgelich keeps it hanging tough on the outside. Big run though. Rochelle staying in there. He's going to remain side by side. I think with just how high Gladgelich is in the corner, that's going to be an easy pass made for the 12 of Rochelle. And that it is. Clear off of turn number 4. Keeps the space, now single file.
You know, Zach, I've been pretty open over the years about my time working at short tracks, both past, present, and future within the short track racing industry. This past weekend, I had the opportunity to go out to Caraway Speedway in Sophia, North Carolina. I know you've been there a handful of times. And it was the Open Wheel Showdown, the first modified race in North Carolina of 2026. And in that race, well, Ryan Newman was running the number 2. And I had a chance to meet Ryan. Now, I typically have a no darfing rule, Zach, when I go to the racetrack. And I've been in the industry now for just long enough, I think, to kind of let it wear off on me. I broke that rule this past weekend. I saw Ryan. I was like, hey, man, I just want to get a picture. Watch you growing up, and sometimes you just got to kind of channel that inner kid. And, you know, 8-year-old me would have been so happy to meet Ryan Newman in passing. So that was cool over the weekend, and I definitely missed the days of seeing the 12 car on the racetrack with those Mobile One all-tell colors at Penske Racing, new and behind the wheel, and always qualifying towards the front. I do miss those days, Zach, and I'm glad we get to channel it here on Mondays. I kind of thought about the league actually a little bit that day, getting to meet Ryan, because again, it's like a blast from the past. It's like, hey, you know, I watched this guy every week, every Sunday, growing up on TV, and there he is. So that was pretty cool.
Well, that's the reason we do it, isn't it? Our toys we never really grow out of our toys. They just got bigger. I mean, I remember the days that I'd be sitting around playing with my NASCAR diecast as Jacob Gladulich is into the pit lane and just watching the NASCAR race on Sundays, making little cardboard stop motion tracks and making little videos and whatnot. And now I'm sitting in a race car, or at least trying to get back into sitting in a race car. You're at the racetracks as well. You're up in the broadcast booth. You're taking photos of these amazing race cars that we get to see, that we get to drive, that we just get to have fun around and let that inner kid shine. And it's nice to reminisce on as we ride on board with Brendan Maddox. He's currently chasing down his teammate Dustin Stallings in that number 96 car. Right in front of them is Brian Housden with Vincent Arthur up inside the top 5 now. And you know, Maddox has been doing a really good job of keeping that car consistently inside the top 10. I spoke with him briefly after the Martinsville race and told him that, you know, that was a solid race. He looked like he was going to be in good contention. He just needed to clean it up a little bit. And he said, well, there were some things that got away from him, and there were some things he could have prevented that ultimately shied him away from getting that top 10. Well, he's looking pretty poised to put himself in contention for that top 10 this week as he passes up for that 6th spot, looking at the top 5 right in front of him.
So position swap there for teammates in 6th and 7th, and that might even swap back as Stallings now goes low and Maddox goes out top in turns 1 and 2. Last week it was a big dance, many different stanzas to the song between Dalton Tucker and Vincent Arthur. It ended up being, though, that Arthur was able to win the race over Tucker, as you saw John Board there in the pit lane to the left side of the screen. But these two, I feel like they have been the strongest so far this season here in the NORA Retro Cup Series. I'm excited to see what they can do on more racetracks head-to-head. We don't know these guys super well yet, so we're going to learn very quickly, I think, this next month or two as the series kind of stabilizes and we see the best of the best go racing a little more often. It'll be interesting to see who ends up winning these races more often than not as Dalton Tucker peels off the pit lane. This is awfully early.
Most definitely early. They only just recently pitted. We're only, what, 30 laps off the caution flag?
So the most recent caution was about 20 laps ago. The caution prior to that was about 29 laps ago. So this is early no matter how you look at it for Dalton Tucker, but might be a strategy play. Recall earlier when we saw Guileless come in a bit early. Maybe this is similar as Dustin Stallings is now in. If you know you have X amount of pit stops at the end, there we go, finally caught up to the 96. If you know you have X amount of pit stops to the very end, and you know the advantage that we saw earlier from guys pitting a little bit early, it might be worth it in Dustin's case here to come in, or in Dalton's case a lap ago to come in early, get the tires in the car, go back out there, start ripping. Maddox is now in the 34 car. That's going to bring Housden in as well. These guys are running top 5 or so. Meanwhile, there's Chase Durheim leading the way, 93 laps in here at Texas. Let's go back to the power rankings coming into tonight, Zach. Here's a look at them again. I think the biggest note that I made mentally while getting this ready was that Dustin Kleva was able to surpass Hunter Sr. Kleva, again, not here tonight, so I would expect somebody else other than the 9 car to be on top. It honestly could be this guy. If he's able to close this race out, watch out. Chase Durheim already grabbed a few spots last week at Martinsville. This could be a really big day for the 16 car. And, we talk about the 3 and the 24 being championship competitors already. I wonder, is Chase a lock to fight in the chase this season?
I don't want to say yes right now. Only due to the fact that both the Durheims have been having some strenuous difficulties with keeping their points up. Obviously, Chase higher in the power rankings, but the point standings, I feel like, are not as reflective of that pace. He is inside the chase right now, yes.
I'm going to make you eat those words, Zach. He's second.
I think he's shown some really great consistency, but I think they've been getting caught up in a lot of incidents that have really downplayed the speed that they've had. Honestly, I think Chase Durheim should be leading the points right now. I think he has had the pace to do so and the potential to get himself in that spot. I think Martinsville was a bit of an outlier. I know that Chance had some issues at Martinsville. I think there just needs to be a little bit of a pickup. That's all I'm saying. They've shown great consistency, but I want to see a little bit more consistency, a little higher up consistency, if that makes sense.
Nearly 100 laps in here at Texas Motor Speedway, of course, nearly halfway through this 300-mile event. In fact, this time by will be 147 miles complete. Out front, it is Chase Durheim leading by a second and change over Hunter Sr. Vincent Arthur a little bit farther back. I expect that the 24 to keep moving forward. I was looking at the 45, Brian Jones, who runs in fourth. He should start moving forward as well as these runs continue on. There's Brian Jones. Missed last week's race at Martinsville Speedway, but has that win from Atlanta, so I think has to be considered a threat really every step of the way. If you can win at Atlanta in these cars, I feel like you're going to be pretty potent across the entire schedule. So watch out for the 45 car as that 3 to the inside. Dalton Tucker is not for position currently. Tucker 1 lap down after having already pitted.
Andrew, you talk about being fast over the course of the schedule. I gotta ask you, what's one track on the schedule that you think if a driver wins at this track, they have a shot at winning the championship? A track that defines skill over the course of the season.
It's race number 10. I knew that would send you looking for the schedule. It's Darlington. Darlington Raceway in this car. If you can win at Darlington, I think you've got the skill in this race car to win anywhere on the calendar. And I think that would even be mirrored by the track that's taking Rockingham's place, in Darlington's place later in the season, and that is Rockingham. Either one of those two racetracks, if you can win either one in this particular race car, I think you've got the brawn, if you will, to win in this race car anywhere. And maybe you can toss the road courses out for the sake of that argument, but I think there's skills that you pick up at each of those two racetracks that you'll use across the rest of the schedule, whether it's here at Texas, maybe Atlanta, maybe Miami, maybe even some of the short tracks, certainly. I mean, I think Rockingham and Bristol are somewhat in the same category as far as how you've got to kind of float the car into the corner and manage it over the course of the corner. Obviously, they are, well, one is half the size of the other, and one is much faster than the other, so they're still very, very different, but I think a lot of the same skills, techniques, and general attitudes that you learn at each of those two racetracks, Darlington and Rockingham, you've got to apply across the rest of the season. So those are my two racetracks, I think, Zach.
Well, comparatively, I would have to say Atlanta is one of the tracks that you should be looking at especially with Homestead being the last race of the season, there's not many tracks that you can compare to Homestead. I think Atlanta is probably one of the ones that you could compare just based on its size, the type of tire wear, the type of lines that you run at Atlanta. I think really the only other track that you... Ooh, that was close. Guileless almost coming out into Hunter Sr. I think the only other track that you could realistically compare to Homestead, honestly, I don't even know, actually. And I'm more so basing it off of comparing it to Homestead just because that's the race you got to go off of.
Bunch of leader pit stops here. Hunter Sr., Dalton Tucker. Well, Tucker's passing him. He's already pitted, of course. But Hunter Sr., Vincent Arthur, Brian Jones, 3 heavy hitters all pitting this lap. Kevin Baumler is now in. John Skavnicki is in. There's PJ Bazowski in the background. And I expect guys like Chase Durheim to come in very, very soon. He is at 35 laps, though. He can go a little bit farther if he wants to. So if he's trying to run this stint all the way out, he's got about 4 more laps to go, as that's now 36 laps complete for the number 16. Caution! That's why you stay out sometimes. Trying to find who it is. Gladulich! Whoa! Watch out! That is exactly why you stay out sometimes.
Got a feel for guys like Brendan Maddox, who were just about to put himself back on the lead lap.
Oh, there goes the wheel. Comes here for the 20 of Jacob Gladulich. Ah, the 12 of Rochelle was pitting. Sparks went to avoid, and that just shunted the 20 off into the outside wall. That was a really big hit.
Now, I saw someone or heard someone call out that they were heading to the pit lane. I assumed it was the 12 saying that he was pitting this time. It might have been the 21. Communication there, Andrew. It's key.
Wow, John Border with a very near miss there.
That's a nomination for Murtis Esports Murtis Mega Miss right there.
Here's another look at this one. The 12 trying to pit, the 5 up 8 of the 20. A near miss as well for Josh Conover. But then look at this, here comes John Border. Oh, watch out.
I mean, he slowed down for the wreck, I'll say. Just didn't quite get it slowed down enough. He would have run right into the back of Gladulich right there.
Meanwhile, into the pit lane comes Chase Durheim and the rest of the lead lap field. While we were on one of our tangents, though, Zach, somebody left the race, and I want to find out why. So give me a moment to actually... I'm going to have to set this up one more time. Watch out for this. Oh boy, he already had a bunch of damage. I think, yeah, so going back, this is just, I think, in response to Chance having the damage from the crash we saw in 3 and 4 after the incident with Cheney and Conover. But Chance Durheim has called it a day, and you can tell this car is just not driving right.
Yeah, crab walking down the straightaways. Not in the traditional sense, I'll say. It just looks very skewed out through the corners. Pulling down the back straightaway. He's got to hold the wheel to the right just a tad. Just pulls down off the straightaway. At least doing a good job of not letting the emotions get the best of you and pulling off the racetrack rather than just parking it and towing. So I do appreciate the fact that he made that effort to pull down off the racetrack and get out of harm's way. But look at all these cars, Andrew, that stayed out to get their wave around. This is going to massively affect guys like Chase Durheim for, oh my goodness, I'm losing my train of thought here.
They're supposed to be going. Dustin Stallings did not go at first. He waited a long time. And this is going to jumble these guys up. I think if the admins are watching this, this might require an extra lap of caution. That's also a lot of wave around cars.
That's what I was trying to get at there for a second. I lost my train of thought because of what was going on there. I was listening to so much driver radio. All these guys that are staying out, they're getting their wave arounds. They have to go to the tail. That's going to benefit guys like Durheim, who had to pit and still get to stay out front on the fresher tires compared to these guys who've got 2, 3, 4 laps old on their tires.
And Kalangelic has just made it back to the pit lane. I'm unsure as to why he hasn't stopped already, but he will finally make it into his box. And let's
That's gotta be too much damage. We're done.
Yeah. Pace car lights are back on, so we will stay under caution just slightly longer. And it looks like the 41 of Longworth is going back behind the iRacing.com safety car. Well, from here on down the rest of the spring, here's a look at the schedule one more time. Of course, we've already run at Daytona, California, Las Vegas, Atlanta, Bristol, and Martinsville. Here we are at Texas tonight. And this schedule is broken down into these 3 columns. So to finish up the opening stretch, if you will, from here, it's down through Phoenix, Talladega, Darlington, Richmond, and Charlotte. Each of these racetracks will demand something different out of these drivers, but all will be demanding. Talladega, the one track where they can kind of relax, but really you can't in these cars. It's still going to be a workout for them, and it's still going to wear these guys out over the course of 113 laps there. Certainly, Phoenix, Darlington, Richmond, Charlotte going to be a workout for these guys, and it won't be anything different when we get into the summer stretch at Dover, Pocono, Michigan, Sonoma, going to be a lot of fun, Chicagoland, Montreal, a lot of great racetracks ahead on the horizon for the NORA Retro Cup Series. Off of turn number 4 and back around to the restart zone goes Chase Durheim, Ronnie Norman in tow. Everybody's got new tires now, just about. Green flag back in the air at Texas Motor Speedway. Looking at 32 and 21 in the top 5. Donald Kite, Kyle Tubb as... Oh, that was close. Conover maybe got a piece there of Norman.
A little wiggle out of the 7 car. That was big. Easily could have been a race-ending moment right there as Conover looks down to the bottom. Going for the 2nd spot. He gets a little loose, pulls down to the bottom.
Josh
They've got the lap
Conover.
car up in front of him.
Josh Conover will wait for nobody here tonight. He wants one of these wins. They're already a 2.5 back of Chase Durheim. Ronnie Norman just doesn't seem to quite get this racetrack tonight. And he's going to start to fall back as Donald Kite drops to the inside. So now, can Conover run the 16 down? Watch out! Maybe some contact there between the 21 and 48 a couple of times. We're 1 and 2 and off the corner. Still side by side. 21's bobbling. Here comes Norman.
Down turn number 1. Norman's going to get the nose in front. He's going to get the whole car in front. Is Kite going to cross him over? No, hangs tough. Single file. The majority single file throughout the field. This is a little bit further back. Whoa, Hunter Sr. That could have easily been a race moment right there. A race-ending moment, I'll say. I thought he was going to come right across the nose of Wayne Sparks, but the angle was a little misleading.
Big dive down for the 24 now of Vincent Arthur as Hunter Sr. runs up high. And this is what I was saying, Zach. Skills that you learn at places like Rockingham and Darlington will apply across the rest of the schedule. What are we seeing out of Senior there? The last time through 1 and 2, he's going all the way to the top lane, and he's got to manage himself in that tight lane between the seam, the top seam, and the wall. That is Darlington type stuff. We were there just yesterday morning for the All-American Racing Network, and I'm telling you, some of those things translate over to other racetracks, and we're seeing it already a bit out of the 4-car of Hunter Sr. and several others that run on the top side of the track this evening. Meanwhile, you saw the contact in the background, perhaps. That was the 5-car of Wayne Sparks getting up into the outside wall. He loses 14th spot now to Cody Anderson.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's still a bump in 3 and 4 right now, isn't there? Or was that in New
Brother, there's bumps all over this racetrack.
No. I know there's bumps, but there's a big, massive bump in 3 and 4 that if you hit it, it shoots the car right up the racetrack.
I know there's the one on the backstretch. That has always been a pain. And this is the battle for 14th as Wayne Sparks will drive by Nick Ham, and that'll bring Craig Martin along with. Deeper in the field, here's Jake Christenberry and Kyle Rochelle. They are racing with the 04 of Jared Skinner. Skinner is 1 lap down, currently in the Lucky Dog spot.
Right up on the back bumper there, Rochelle looked like he kind of got Christenberry loose a little bit. How about that 11 car, Andrew? He was a lot down towards the back of the field early on in this race, slowly working himself up as the race goes on.
This is a great fight for him to watch and maybe learn a thing or two from. Jared Skinner, the win at California earlier this season. Jake Christenberry, of course, still winless. We've only had, I believe, the 2 Ford wins between Jones and Cleva. The rest have all been Chevrolet wins, but none yet from Joe Gibbs Racing 3 from Eric McClure Motorsports. There we go. I was
3
all
wide.
messed up there, and then the 1 from Hendrick last week at Martinsville. Meanwhile, you still see these two battling, and there are battles higher up in the field as well. So as Rochelle gets by Skinner, here is Ronnie Norman chasing down Donald Kite, and he is bringing that 3 car of Dalton Tucker right on through. Gibson Arthur is down in 10th. This is a great opportunity for the 3 to take back over.
He's got to find his way past 2 cars in front of him, though. That's Kite and Norman close together for the 3rd and 4th spot. I think what Tucker's just doing is waiting for them to get into a little bit of a battle. That might happen soon. Looks like Kite is getting a little loose on corner exit. Norman's trying to find an avenue that he can stick that 7 car to the inside or the outside of that 21. Looks like he's going to try to roll topside, cross him over on exit potentially. But Tucker's been working him down. And Norman just tapped the wall, so that's going to allow that 3 car to close in ever more.
And we're inside of 80 laps to go here. These guys are starting to plan their pit stops out. We already saw it the last run. Dalton Tucker and some others pitting early. I wonder, do we see anybody duck out of this stint early to try and play the fuel game the way they want it for later in the race? Do some of these battles end up not meaning that much here in 20 more laps?
I don't even know, actually.
Caution.
Oh, caution!
That'll change things. Matthew George around down the back straightaway. The number 25 comes to rest. Loose on his own. A final tap around by the 12 of Rochelle, and that's a decent hit to the nose, Zach. Not much damage from it specifically. That's a pretty decent impact.
I'd say there's some sizable damage on the front end of that race car. He's going to have some aero damage, most definitely. That left front tire is probably going to be knocked out. He may actually have some engine damage as well. He was loose on his own, like you said, and then just got finished off by Rochelle. Nothing Rochelle wanted to do on his own, but realistically, he had nowhere to go as George was spinning on line. So,
well, these guys are all on line.
Well, yeah. Wow, okay. The dad jokes are coming out tonight. Pit stop's underway, Andrew. From here, it's a one-stop race now.
Just inside of range to make it a one-stop race, as long as you fill up on fuel under this caution. That makes it imperative. No funny business. 4 tires and fuel here. Don't try to game anything. Make sure the car is completely full. And make sure as soon as you leave this pit lane, it's up into 4th gear, clutch in, shutting the car off periodically, save all you can just in case. Here's the race off the pit lane, though. It's going to be Conover out first. How about that for the 48?
3 wide for second, though. Look at that.
That is a huge pickup for Josh Conover to win the race off pit lane. He took a 4-tire stop. I think we ought to dial him up. This could be a really, really big, important stop for the 48 car. Let's bring him in. Fresh off of winning at least the race off of pit road here, Josh. Now you got to try to win the race. This obviously puts you in maybe the best position to do so. Obviously the 22 has stayed out, but first car, new tires, that's got to feel nice.
It does. The 22 staying out kind of makes me nervous with Dalton now right behind me, but yeah, just got to work a little bit harder now for it.
I said earlier, it feels like you've obviously got pace to run top 3, maybe top 5, but it seems like there's always 1 or 2 guys that are maybe a little bit better. I would say tonight, those are the 3, the 16 and the 24. Do you have anything for them?
I'll have to see. Dalton and Vinny, I've kind of had my number for as long as we've been running with them, probably 5 or 6 years. Chase and I were kind of even right there before the caution. If we weren't 2 seconds back, I think the race would have been pretty good, so we'll have to see and just, I guess, try and hang on.
I gotta ask, for you to run these races later in the evening, 9:50, how tired are you and Bree with that newborn?
I think she's in bed. I think the baby's next to her in the bassinet. I haven't heard any crying in the last couple minutes, so get back to me a little later on that one.
Sounds good. Hey, best of luck, Josh. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you, sir.
So Josh Conover, you can tell he's kind of staying a little bit hush-hush, trying to keep his voice down as these guys are about to go back green flag racing in just a couple of moments. In fact, there we go. The iRacing.com safety car will pull in, and Craig Martin is now in control of the field. Restart zone, green flag. This is going to be tense. And Josh Conover gets on ahead. That's going to bring the 3 and the 16 on through. Donald Kite even taking advantage. The 7 of Ronnie Norman going to try and do the same.
So many fights going on just outside the top 5. Vincent Arthur has moved himself up in front of Tubb and Jackson, with Maddox just rounding out the top 10. He's got Hunter Sr. right in the mix with him, though. Look at all that fighting off of turn number 2. Saw a couple of cars loose as they fall in. We are single file amongst the top 7 cars from the looks of it off the speed shot cam. Ooh, was that Brendan Maddox through the grass?
I believe it might have been. He did lose a spot or 2 that lap. And he is all kinds of squirrely. He keeps it going, though.
Gained a spot.
There's a lot going on right now because Arthur is now racing side by side with Norman. Gets by the 7 car of Norman. Maddox in a 2, almost 3 wide here. Craig Martin checking up. 3 wide now between the 4, 33, and 45. Jones in the wall. And I wonder, Zach, if Atlantis King is out there watching this evening, because Brian Jones has been mentioned to be traveling on occasion as Craig Martin grabs a piece of the wall. I wonder, Zach, is Brian on his travel setup? And is that maybe why he misjudged that on the front stretch? Because, of course, when you're racing on a smaller screen, especially if it's a laptop, man, it is really tough to gauge how much room you've got.
Possible, but even the best makes mistakes sometimes, so
This is fair.
we'll have to wait and see. But they are fighting in front of him, so usually when you get caught up in a bit of a tense fight, there tend to be a few more mistakes than usual as he taps the wall right there. But I don't know, Andrew. We'll have to find out. I'm sure we will get a heads up from someone as to where Brian Jones is joining us from tonight, as big run on the outside of the 32. That's going to be a promotion up into, I believe,
the 11th.
The 11th spot. Yeah, that's 11th spot right there. Anderson, the first car inside the top 10, and he's going to grab the wall, actually. Sparks grabbed a little bit behind. They brought to the bottom. That's pretty egregious right there.
That was aggressive out of Cody Anderson. I know it is getting late in this race, but that was a really aggressive block to get in the wall, make the mistake yourself, and then block down to the inside lane. That was aggressive. And that's something that Jones is going to keep in the memory bank. He's going to remember that. But that's how this guy raced me, so I know when it's time to pay it back. To pay it back.
He pinched him tight right there. Anderson is doing a bang-up job trying to hang on to this top 10 with just over 65 laps to go, and the caution is back out on the speedway.
Nick Geilis, it seems, slow on the outside of turn 4.
28 with nose damage on that race car. Right side damage, too.
A new paint scheme for Nick this evening. And unfortunately, does not seem to have brought him any luck here at Texas Motor Speedway. Let's see how this ends up happening. Racing with Craig Martin, Dustin Stallings back here, Jake Christenberry, John Porter, and some others. And it seems he kind of self-cleared. That's a tough one. That's a really odd spot of the racetrack for that to happen. But it seemed to me like he entered pretty high because he had Martin down low with Border looking as well. So he entered decently high and then started this arc down as Border's coming up on the inside. Oh, that is really tough.
It feels like he didn't know the 43 was going to be there. In the same regard, too, that could have easily been a 3-wide incident on corner entry.
And of course,
Martin
John Border,
backed out a little bit.
there's something he can do once a 28 star. He's back in the gas. He can't go any lower. Obviously, Nick
It's
would
the
not have
middle.
wanted all of that, but that's a really tricky incident for those two drivers.
From the top down. Border's committed at that point, being back in the gas. Craig Martin, good job missing that 28 car of Geilis. That could have been easily as bad. At the end of the day, it looks like Halston's going to inherit the race lead with Baumler right behind him. So I'm assuming we've had a slew of cars hit the pit lane. Unless these are guys staying out to get their laps back, with the top 3 out on the racetrack right now, the 15, the 81, the 29.
Hunter Sr. wins the race off of pit road. Several others will follow. Let's talk with the driver of the 15 car who stays out under this caution. I'm a little intrigued as to why he will have stayed out under this yellow, but Ryan Housden, the number 15, has had pretty decent intermediate pace this season, certainly threat for a top 10. Staying out here under this caution, though, what's the idea here?
Well, just try to do the thing that the opposite of everybody else. It's hard to pass. Our dirty air's tough back in the middle of the pack, and I was gonna be stuck around like 15th, 17th if I went pit there. So I feel like just try something different.
Definitely a big opportunity here for this restart. But we saw the temperatures earlier, of course, and even now, still pretty low, 66.7 degrees in the air. The track tip has come up. What's it like for you guys? Of course, we see that and we theorize it should be a little more grippy for you guys, but it's almost direct sunlight for most of the racetrack all the way around. Is it slippy? I mean, how is it behind the wheel?
I'd say the biggest thing you notice is how tight it gets off at 2. You just kind of, once you're on throttle, you're just pushing straight to the wall. So just got to manage that throughout the run. That's the biggest difference from lap to lap.
And Ryan, I put Dalton Tucker on the Who You Got post earlier today and mentioned that you guys as a team are still winless. How special would it be to you to be the one to break that over Dalton?
I mean, that'd be huge. Claiming my first one in NORA. I'm not putting that money on the table for that one yet today, but we're going to give it the best we can here as we come to green.
Hey, let's see what you can do here. Best of luck.
All right, thank you.
The driver of the 15 going to restart first here for this opportunity at a restart. 62 laps to go here, Zach. Restart zone there for Ryan Housden. Green flag back in the air. And it is a big restart for Housden. Problems. Vincent Arthur. Slow on the restart. He's got some damage, Zach. A lot of it.
Trying to find his footing to get back into a solid rhythm. Put himself back up towards the front.
Here's the replay of the restart. Here's the line. Chase Durheim behind. Dalton Tucker ahead. John Borders down there. What happens here to Arthur in 1 and 2? Loose on the outside. Loose all on his own.
Oh!
All on his own. That's going to sting.
There were a couple of stings as we rolled into that restart. A couple of drivers ended up having to go to the rear through the pit stops. Brendan Maddox actually ended up getting a speeding penalty, so he put himself down into the rear. So he'll be joining Vincent Arthur, just hanging around 20th, 19th position right now.
I'll tell you what, Zach, that's one of the best messages I've ever read in YouTube chat. I'll make you go look. I'll see how long it takes you to get there. So we've got one blinking. Dalton Tucker having more issues with the connection here tonight. It seems to have stabilized now. But if you saw a bright yellow flash somewhere in the background on the back straightaway, that's what that was. And this has really shaken things up across the entire field because we got pretty used to the same kind of guys up front. Chase Durheim for a lot of this race. Now, Ryan Housden has the lead. Hunter Sr. might be back in a position maybe to win this race. Brian Jones looks good. And oh, John Border destroyed on the inside of the racetrack. It's already been a rough day for him. The 43 is going to have to call it a day.
Bad day just keeps getting worse.
This season keeps getting worse. Saw a brief look there on our side. This is going to be your first look at it for the broadcast, but Jake Christenberry behind him at turn 3. Looking high. This already has the looks of a bad incident. And right here, just a mismatch. Christenberry, a big face full of Cheerios. There you see Border going into the wall, and there's Christenberry. Christenberry has continued, albeit a little messy there with the rejoin. Just trying to get back on the racetrack, but thankfully able to keep on rolling.
No caution is surprising.
Yeah, I would have figured with that slide up for the 11 and the slowing down of the 43, that would have been a caution, but I'm sure the leaders appreciate that it wasn't. And you know, Zach, a headline in this race back in 05 was that in 2005, the NASCAR Cup Series took an inch off of the spoilers versus what they were at for 03, 04, and even in the NASCAR Busch Series at the time, now the NASCAR O'Reilly's Auto Parts Series. The problem with that for us is while there was a slight rules package update for the real NASCAR Cup Series that year, we don't have that. These are already 2003 spec cars for these guys this season. And so let's break out the graphic for the first time tonight, and here you go. We don't have exact dimensions on the spoiler height for this car, but we know that that was an adjustment made by NASCAR going into 2005, and therefore is not replicated here in this 2003 version, despite this kind of being a 2005 season for NORA here in 2026. That, I wonder if there's a noticeable difference. If you were to take somebody who ran these cars, maybe Dale Jr., since he's so ingrained with an iRacing, if you were to have him run that different rules package but on these cars, I wonder if there would be a discernible difference and how much that might be changing things for these guys today. We have seen these guys still getting very, very loose. How much more sideways would they be?
I guess we'll never know. I tried to make a funny there. I tried to make a reference. Like, tell me you got it, please.
The world may never know. Tootsie Pop?
No, Eminem.
I'm not getting it. Ryan Jones, though, was getting it off the corner. He was free. And here we go for the race lead. Ryan Housden, Hunter Sr. Sr. lost the nose a bit. Housden loose, though. This is far from done between these two.
He put the left sides on the apron right there. That's what got him loose through 3 and 4. We've got 51 laps to go here at Texas Motor Speedway. We are nearly 3/4 of the way through this event. You asked where Brian Jones is joining us from tonight, whether or not he's on a simulator or not. He's running up in the second spot. He made his way by Hunter Sr. He is working to go get that race lead. The 1.5-mile track seemed to be playing in his favor as we've gone past Vegas. He was our Atlanta winner. Seems fitting that he would be in contention at another cookie-cutter style racetrack like Texas Speedway. And other drivers to see them in the mix. Conover, we saw him leading early on, or at least running up towards the front early on as well. He's sitting right there in the 5th position, right behind Cody Anderson. You see him to the right side of your screen at a camera shot. Durheim's worked himself back up into the 6th position. Tucker 7th, and it's Baumler, Jackson, and Tubb your top 10. This race is far from over, Andrew. I still think we've got some late bloomers that are trying to work their way up to the race lead.
Well, you know, something we wanted in NASCAR for a while that was kind of lost at one point in time was comers and goers. You know, over the course of the day, obviously, and also runs, guys getting fast at one point, then slowing down, maybe getting fast later, and you know, vice versa. Just having different amounts of speed and different, you know, drivers in different positions all throughout the race, mixing things up over the course of the day. And I think we're seeing some of that here this evening as there's the battle for 4th, and it will go quickly the way of the 48. Josh Conover jumps ahead of Cody Anderson.
Easy overtake on the 33 car, the Richard Childress racing machine, if I'm not mistaken. Childress still had the rights to the 33 car at the time.
In this case, yes.
He never gave it up then, because he's run the 33 a multitude of times. Recently, we've seen it inhabited by Jesse Love and Austin Hill on a part-time schedule in the NASCAR Cup Series.
I know.
I
know that Circle Sport Racing ran the 33 back in like 2013, 2014, when the Dillon brothers were making their way into the Cup Series. But it was run technically as Circle Sport. It was an RCR prepared car, I'm sure, but I know that it was technically fielded under a different name at one point in time, and then the number came back into RCR possession regardless. Inside of 50 to go. Ryan Housden does have older tires here, Zach, and he's holding these guys off nicely. It's a difference of about 11 laps. And I know he doesn't really, I mean, he said it himself, he doesn't feel like he's got race winning pace. His Senior has a moment there off the corner. But this is looking good right now for the 15.
Race winning pace is definitely being shown by the DEI number 15 and RCR affiliate. Since we were talking about RCR most recently right there with the 33 car. And look at Conover. He has fought himself up into this top 3 mix. Currently running in the 4th position. He's got his eyes set, locked on target on that 4 car. So you can see he's running up against the wall behind the 45, catching that draft, just pulling each other back to him. Seeing where he can gain some ground and find a clean air patch to get that 48 car in front of the 2 that are fighting for the 2nd spot. Jones is still hanging tough on the outside line, but Senior has definitely made a comeback on that bottom. Well, this is all playing in Housden's favor. Just letting him drive further and further away. You can see it on the ticker. He is pulling away by inches on exit. He lost a little ground there, but he's still got a good margin to the 2nd place car.
He's not really pulling away much. These guys, I think because of the tires in the 15 being a little bit worse off, they're kind of even despite the 45 and 4 being side by side. And there you see Housden with a big bobble off the corner. Things are about to get busy here at the front of the field. Brian Jones finally gets clear of Hunter Sr. He can try to attack that 15 car now.
But he's staying in the clean air. Look at that. He's still rolling the top side to have the clean air in the corners, and Conover's trying to follow him.
Ryan Jones now gets down underneath the left rear of the 15. You see Howson up the racetrack. Oh, and now Jones bobbles off the corner. Some air packed in the spoiler, maybe by Hunter Sr.
On over to the top side. He's going to take the second place spot away briefly. Little bit of side-by-side action. We're 3 wide into turn number 1. Conover comes down on the nose of the 45. Look at that. That could have been big right there. And now Anderson's into the mix.
Cody Anderson going to try to get by Hunter Sr. there on the outside lane. Ryan Jones still trying to gather that car up. The 4 and 45 may have burnt their stuff up a little bit, Zach. And even looking back at the pit stop stats, Jones, Anderson Sr. all took 2, while Conover took 4.
Think about who's trying to come into the mix as well. Durheim, he's sitting not too far behind these guys. There you see him out of camera shot. He just taps the wall, fighting with Tucker, who's going to take that 3 car and put it up into the 6th position. That 16 car that we were talking about early on, Andrew, who showed immense speed and possible potential at race win here tonight at Texas. He's slowly falling further and further out of reach of the leaders as Baumler has worked himself up there as well. Here it is. Conover
got straight to the 15, immediately worked his way by, and with 40 to go, the new dad gets out front. That is a big pass. I really thought Howson might have had this run at least to the pit stops, but the 48 able to muscle ahead. Let's hit the fan cam here for a second, and we can tell you that Brian Jones is back on his home rig. Thanks to Atlantis King checking in the YouTube chat.
Look at Hunter Sr. He seems incredibly committed to that top line. He
running
was almost
the
on the wall.
That was awesome through 1 and 2. Running the boards up there. Yeah, Houston trying to get settled back in. Anderson trying to go around, but...
Well, he had a big wiggle, and look at this. He's slowing down. He's going to bring it on in, and Brian Jones is going to join him.
That's a solid move. Pit window just opened up, hit the pit lane. I think that's a solid move for each of those guys.
This is your one-stop strategy from here. What does Jones elect to do? Does he still go 2 right side tires? You see the right side's up on the jack. He's got to wait on gas. The best bet would be to go left sides as well.
Yeah.
There it is. Left sides are up on the jack. It's going to be a 4-tire call out of the 45. What does Howson do? 4 as well. I would assume Jones is going to beat the 15 out.
Yeah, he will. That's an important pass.
Oh, look at Sparks right behind him, just coming into the pit lane. He almost hit the commitment coming back there.
Meanwhile, these guys can go another 15-ish laps. Dalton Tucker was hanging it all out there at turn number 2. He was getting it in the 3 car. He wants to get back up to the lead. But Josh Conover took the lead by storm. And I have to wonder now if this guy might have a race win in his future this evening. I'll knock on wood for him.
Hold on a minute. Wayne Sparks is out of the race. He just pulled it behind the wall and took it to the garage.
Could he have picked up a penalty there, and maybe that's why he decided it was done for him?
No, I was actually checking to see if he did get a black flag, and that's how I noticed that he had pulled the car to the garage.
You see there, he was loose out of turn 2. This might be when he elected to hit the pits. It is.
Big old slide.
He missed
the orange cone.
Yeah, missed the traditional commitment cone, but not the iRacing commitment cone. And then down this long pit lane.
Right. He just parked it. He put it up on the jack, and
that was that.
That was it.
The Wayne Sparks out of it. That's a little odd. Certainly not what we want to see, but here we go. Pit stop now for the 81 car. Kevin Baumler going to come on in. This could be a nice little, like, happy medium, Zach. You don't want to pit too early necessarily. And while I like the move for Jones and for Housden, it might be a little bit too early. This might be a happy medium for Baumler. Get tires still ahead of some of these guys, but not so early that you end up being on your back foot completely when they come back through with their new tires. So definitely a lot going on. Dalton Tucker, look at this. Mentioning a happy medium, he's going to come on in.
I think I'm a little bit later on this happy medium. I would elect around lap 170, 30 to go. It gives you some extra fuel in the tank in case we have those green-white checkers. You can come on in, take 4 and run it out, or you could take 2 and stop short. It gives you a little bit more options as we're hearing more and more drivers getting ready to enter the pit lane. I'm hearing Kyle Tubb calling out in that 32 car to enter the pit lane. But
Anderson's in.
Or you see Anderson
Maddox,
as well.
Norman, Tubb. So a bunch of higher profile drivers coming in now. All as Josh Conover continues to lead. Guileless, oh my goodness, he was all over there on the backstretch.
Realistically, though, you have to
Here comes the
factor
48,
in.
I think. No.
No, not yet. I was about to say you have to factor in the fact that these guys that stopped short, or stop short. Brian Jones, Brian Housden. Got to think about how they're going to factor in respectively. Brian Jones is your race leader. Once everything cycles through, he will be the race leader because he is knocking tenths out of Conover's lead the longer that 48 car stays on the racetrack. And as I say that, he's holding it and he's pitting.
That's going to bring Hunter Sr. in as well. A little hot on the approach there for Conover, but he gets it down to pit speed. That'll bring Brandon Jackson and Dustin Stallings into the pits as well. This now leaves Chase Durheim on the racetrack. Brian Jones just unlapped himself. That is huge, Zach. If we get a caution, and we've seen this several times in the past, if we get a caution, Brian Jones is now on the lead lap. That is a big time pass. Housden goes by as well.
They're rolling through turns 3 and 4. Where is Conover right now? He's still on the pit lane.
There's Conover leaving the pits.
And he's lost ground.
And there goes Housden.
There goes Jones.
They're already sailing around turn 2. He's barely into turn 1. There goes Dalton Tucker. But now it's an 8-lap difference between Jones and Conover. I don't know, Zach. This is tough. On one hand, I might have waited longer if I was Conover, but at the same time, that puts you in a deeper hole to climb out of.
This is what I was talking about.
It's very, very difficult.
He just even lost position to Anderson, and there is Rochelle and Baumler. You know, tires have been making a difference as Christenberry's out and away, and Durheim is still on the racetrack. Ham is still out there. Vincent Arthur is still out there. The 11 of Christenberry is out there right now. They're all drivers that still need to pit.
And if you're Chase Durheim, you're banking on a caution.
I don't know. I don't really want to be banking on a caution right now. I think pitting was the right move out of these drivers, and even if we do get a caution now, the amount of drivers that are going to end up pitting comparative to the cars that are going to stay out is not going to help them in any way, shape, or form. These guys are going to drop down the running order.
Yeah, I just don't know if these guys can pull themselves back out of the holes they're now in the case of guys like Chase Durheim here and some others that are staying out longer. So as far as the ones that have pitted, it looks like Durheim might be coming in soon. Here's Brian Jones. He's got the tentative race lead. He has also got, though, a 5-lap disadvantage versus the 3 as far as tires go. And the 3 is closing in the background, that yellow and blue machine. The Wrangler colors on that Chevrolet. This is interesting. Dalton Tucker has definitely been running these two down. And again, I thought he might have been coming in on a nice happy medium. It just might work out, Zach. I mean, we're still 25 laps away, and we're high time to start picking our driver of the day candidates. We'll try to wait on the pit stops to cycle out, but as I say that, here's Chase Durheim in the pits.
Into the pit lane goes the 16 car.
Guileless as well, 28 is in.
Yeah, everyone's going to start closing up on him. Looking for Ham in the 88 car. There goes the 11 of Christenberry to the pit lane. Tucker is on the back bumper of his teammate in that 15 of Housden. Ham stays on the racetrack. Vincent Arthur stays on the racetrack. Those are the last two that need to head to the pit lane. Look at a run around the outside. That was big time moves right there. I think Housden might have gotten a little loose as they are catching Vincent Arthur and Nick Ham. Arthur just called out to the pit lane, so the 24 car will be entering the pit lane this time by. I think the 88 car is going to be joining him. What? You don't pit from the middle lane. Oh my goodness.
That was a close one for Dalton Tucker. Code Brown for sure as he's trying to run Brian Jones down, and Zach, I'm telling you, I think he picked the right time to pit. Right in between the early pitters and the late pitters. He's only a half second off of Brian Jones. I think that 45 is going to be a sitting duck.
Got to think about 3 seconds back to Conover. He's quickly trying to close that gap. He is still behind Anderson at the moment. That 48 car is still working that gap down, so I'm not giving up just yet. Not giving up just yet on Conover.
Oh, Brian Jones at the racetrack that time. This is an iffy situation right now.
Look at Tucker trying to poke that nose in there. He's going to get to the inside of the 45 car. Side by side up before. Just over 20 laps to go.
At the line there, it was still Jones into turn 1, though. Here comes the 3 of Dalton Tucker on the inside. And that is going to be a pass for the race lead. Maybe, not quite just yet. Jones still trying to fight back. This next time by the flag stand, it'll be 21 to go. And now Dalton Tucker going to have the advantage. He will sail on away from the 45 of Brian Jones. So, what we can do now, Zach, is set up our trusty dusty lap comparator. And take a look at this. Dalton Tucker, last lap, a 29.970. About 0.2 slower than Josh Conover. I don't think that catches Conover up, but you see how much faster it was versus Brian Jones and Hunter Sr. running a 29.7 as well. It's going to be
comparatively the faster of the 4.
It's going to be close on if Conover and Sr. can catch these guys ahead. They are half a second apart, the 48 and 4 cars, and they are 2 seconds back of Tucker. They all ran about a 30 flat that last lap. Senior's time was a lot better.
Yeah, 3/10 quicker than the rest of these guys. I think Conover being stuck behind these guys is starting to affect him. Housen's going backwards. Now the 48 car is moving by the 15, but Anderson has already moved on by Housden. So I think Conover is really starting to try and work himself forward after being on the back pedal. He's closed in almost a full second and a half on the race leader. He's trying to find his way forward, but he's just not able to get that 48 car back to where it was. Now he's got a car in between him and Hunter Sr. to kind of fend off that 4 car that's still comparatively better than the 48 car, but I don't know, Andrew, like you said, we are running out of time.
And that's the big thing for Conover, is certainly he's got the advantage right now. He and Senior both over guys like Tucker and Jones and Anderson, but do they have enough time? Do they have enough time? That time, Conover made a lot more ground up. 3.5 tenths on Tucker that lap. That is going to keep helping the 48. Again, I just wonder, is there enough time? But while this starts to play out, Zach, it's that time we have got to make our picks for the North American Racing League driver of the day. Just as Jones gets passed up by Anderson, this is for second place. But Zach, we can't wait any longer. Who you got?
Conover. That's got to be my first pick on the day. Conover has done an absolutely outstanding job to put himself in position to be in contention at the end of this race. And I still think that he has the potential to run away with this race win as they put the 29 a lap down. Conover's got a big run down to the bottom, and he's going to try to pass up Brian Jones. I think that he's got a shot to put himself in contention for this race win. He's doing a stand-up job to get it done, and he's got that 45 car. I think for pick number 2, I'm going to have to go with Cody Anderson. That car has been outstanding so far today. Not usually one that we see running up towards the front of the field at the end of this race, but he started 16th on the day. He's worked himself up to the second spot. He's picked up 14 positions. I think he's got a shot to get his first win on the season.
Time will tell. He's about 1.2 seconds back of Dalton Tucker, 15 to go this time by. Dalton Tucker will be one of my picks, because as of right now, it certainly looks good for him to try and win this race, and he has played all of his cards right, qualified well, has led a handful of laps. This could finally be the day that Tucker puts all of these 2026 woes behind him, and certainly for his sake, I hope it is the case. Deeper in the field, not by much though, I'm going to go Brendan Maddox. We really did not know what to expect out of Maddox and Stallings coming into this when they decided to join the series, Zach. They run in the BRB Sundance Pro Series on Tuesdays. That, for 4 seasons, ran next-gen cars, now runs ARCA. Neither of those hold a candle to these cars, these 2003 NASCAR Cup cars. We had no clue what to expect. These guys are infinitely more warmed up to these cars versus Brennan Maddox and Dustin Stallings. Stallings ran great at Martinsville a week ago, but now on an intermediate where you've got, it's certainly, I think, harder to drive over the course of a race. Look at Brennan Maddox. P8, he's run up front, mostly in the top 10. I just think he's done a really good job showing that he can hang with these guys and maybe find a second home here possibly on Monday nights.
I don't disagree with you. He's done a really great job. We've talked about him all day. He's been very consistent inside the top 10. He's looking at chasing down Houston in that 15 car. But as I say this, we got to take a look up towards the front of the field. It's within a second now for the race lead between Anderson and Tucker. This is the fight you see on your screen for second. There's Senior further down, and he has really started to drop off. His lap times are now in excess of Josh Conover, who is still running around the same pace as Anderson and Tucker. But they've all slowed down. They're not as fast as they once were. They're not clicking off as much time comparative to Tucker, at least that time by. Well, Conover was faster and Anderson was faster by just about a tenth.
Yeah, this was the other, I think, big concern for Conover is not only is he not going to have as much time, he didn't pit as far beyond the 3 as the 3 did beyond the 45, if that makes sense. There were more laps between the 45 and the 3 in their tires than there are between the 3 and 48. So, yes, Conover still has a slight advantage. It's only 3 laps compared to the, 8 that we saw between Brian Jones and Dalton Tucker. So as Brian Jones slips back to the 5th spot, Dalton Tucker might be able to hang on. The tires are plateauing for these guys. They're leveling off. Conover that lap, 1/1000th of a second faster. Tucker was nearly faster than all of them. And he's picked right back up. Senior was a little bit quicker. I think the 3 car might have this one, Zach. It's too early to say just yet. 9 to go this time by, but it certainly looks good.
I think Conover's biggest hope is that if Anderson gets to the back bumper of the 3 car, that they just start fighting. That's his hope right now. Those 2 start fighting, and he gets up there and puts himself in contention for this race win.
I mean, the 31 is out of control here on the back straightaway, but I don't think Anderson even gets to Tucker. I really don't. I think the dirty air is going to be enough to hold that 33 car back. It's 8 to go this time by. I don't think anybody gets to this 3 car unless we have a caution. And at that point, who knows what happens, because we know these guys have enough sets of tires. And here goes Conover. Yeah, I think he's got to go through Anderson to get to Tucker.
No more sitting and waiting around.
Dustin Stallings in trouble. He's in the wall big time on the front stretch into turn 1. This could turn into a caution. He's got no front end on that car. Battle still for second. There's Conover down low. These guys are approaching that situation for Stallings. This could be a little tricky for these 2.
48 moves on by. Still within about a second to Tucker. He's not within range to be in striking distance, but should that 3 car make a mistake, that 48 car will be there.
Dustin Stallings, it seems, has gotten down to the pit lane, so he will get that car out of harm's way. Hate to see this for, again, one of these 2 guys that was brand new to the series, just wanted to come race on Monday nights. Had a great run going for about 190 laps out of 200 here tonight. Meanwhile, 6 laps to go for Dalton Tucker. Can he finally put a 1 in the win column? It's a 1-second gap.
One has to think. What if Conover pitted on the same lap as the 3? What if somehow, some way, they timed their strategy together? Do you think that Conover would still be in front of Tucker? He was leading before green flag stops.
Conover 2/10 faster that lap. He's certainly making a play.
There's a lot of traffic up ahead, too.
Next time by, 4 laps to go. That'll be 6 miles of racing left here at Texas Motor Speedway. For Tucker, it'd be his team's first win of the season. For Conover, it could be back-to-back for Hendrick. That last lap, another 10th and change. Bottom right of your screen now, you'll see the gap between these two in live time. Three laps to go this time by Zach. It is oh so close between these two. That lap, Conover just didn't make up enough. I don't think he's going to get there. Even if he gets up to the 3 car now, I don't think he's got enough time to work through the dirty air.
Rolling through 3 and 4. I think Conover's only chance at this point is going to be a caution. There you see the lap car holding down on the bottom line, putting some dirty air on the 3 of Tucker.
That's PJ Bazowski in the 31. 2 laps to go. 3 more miles for the number 3. And counting. Texas Motor Speedway. One of the fastest at the time back when these cars were racing here. It has been a challenge all night long for these drivers. Straight up, a half second between them now. White flag is out at Texas. Brought to you by Whiplash Simcams. One more time around.
No cautions to decide this one. Tucker has been beautiful the entirety of this last run. He has been absolutely hitting his marks, and that 3 car is setting sail out in front of the 48. Conover keeps closing, and he keeps on closing. He's within half a second. But, Andrew, I don't think it's going to make a difference as they roll through 3 and 4.
It was a valiant effort, but it will come up short for Josh Conover. Dalton Tucker grabs his first win of 2026, and he does it at Texas Motor Speedway. He responds to the big win a week ago by Vincent Arthur at Martinsville. For Arthur, it was a grandfather clock. For Tucker, it'll be 6 shooters at Texas Motor Speedway. How about that for a resounding response?
What a job by Tucker to put this car in position to take this win. So many storylines, realistically, throughout the top 10. I think this was just a absolutely beautiful race. These guys did a stand-up job getting it to the end.
This race really had it all. Great drama throughout, some great pit strategy in there, tire strategy, a handful of different leaders, and potentially a newly emerged favorite on these intermediates. Putting the bad luck behind him, Dalton Tucker finally puts one of these races together this season. Arguably, he should have a couple already. Based on pace alone, he finally gets it done here. This coming at Texas Motor Speedway. Of course, you can keep voting in the North American Racing League Driver of the Day vote. But let's go back and set up for some unofficial race results here, Zach. What a race here at Texas. I didn't know what we had in store for us, but this was a fantastic one. Dalton Tucker gets the win. 56 laps led by just under a half second there over Josh Conover. Cody Anderson caps off your podium. We'll be talking to each of those 3 drivers here in just a few moments. Hunter Sr. matches his car number. He goes 4th. Brian Jones able to hang on to a top 5. Ronnie Norman just shy of it. And that's a pretty solid run for Norman. He didn't really have it in the first 50 or 60 laps, but it came to him later on, and he was able to put that car in the top 10, not only in the top 10, but nearly top 5. Kevin Baumler came through for a 7th place finish, and Brendan Maddox, I'm impressed. 8th place here tonight. Ryan Housden, Chase Durheim hold on for top 10 finishes. I hate that for Chase Durheim, I really do. Really, both of those two, Housden and Durheim, both, go back before the pit stops, they each looked poised to have a shot here at the win. They both come up short.
Just a little short at the end of the race, but still great storylines throughout the course of this race. Brandon Jackson ends up 11th on the day. Was not expecting to see that 18 car up in the 11th spot. He started 32nd, so gained about 21 positions on the course of the day. That's a really impressive run for that 18 car. In the 12th spot, you'll find Kyle Tubb. He finishes 12th after starting 8th on the day. And then another big mover is Donald Kite right behind him. Started 31st, ended up 13th on the day. So that's a great run there for that 21 car, with Kyle Rochelle ending up 14th on the day, John Skavnicki 15th, and Jared Skinner will be 16th on the day, with Nick Ham being the first car 1 lap down at the end of that race in the 17th position. Jake Christenberry in that 11 car ends up 1 lap down as well in the 18th spot, with Vincent Arthur right behind. Then Samuel Longworth, a big long way back from the 19th place finisher, Vincent Arthur. He finishes 6 laps down in the 20th place position.
And I'm trying to look back quickly. I'll circle back on this after, but I'm trying to look back at the Who You Got post. I'm curious about something, but back in 21st, Dustin Stallings, we saw him out early. Well, I say not early, but I mean early from the end of the race, right? Had that issue there with 7 laps to go and ends up parking it there just a little bit shy of the end. Matthew George out early as well, and all these guys with heartbreak one way or another. A few of them still running at the end, but many laps down. Nick Gillis back in 23rd. PJ Bazowski, he was still going at the end, but 33 laps down. He was able to get by Wayne Sparks. Brad Fulham back in 26th. Craig Martin back in 27th. John Border, Christopher Heights, Jacob Gladulitz, your top 30. And the final 6 cars, Aaron Longworth, Chance Durheim, Brady Moats. Gosh, what a hellacious impact for him. He's out early along with Kenneth Cheney and Joseph Andujar. And then LJ Hernandez, not sure what his job is, but it called him into work early on in the race. And he had to park it with about 150 to go. Well, Dalton Tucker finally gets the monkey off his back, wins here at Texas Motor Speedway. Dalton, earlier in Discord, you were saying it may as well be a post about how many different ways can you lose or whatever. You end up finally coming through and getting the win. That, could you have written it any better?
No, that was it had every bit the storylines of me giving it away again. I thought I had a ton of speed, especially long run speed. And early on, I really thought that it was going to go green the whole way. And a lot of these 1.5 miles, once you kind of build that long run, it just goes green. And when I saw that caution come out, I just knew this is going to be one of them races. And it definitely had its ups and downs, and luckily we were able to find our way back up to the front.
And going back to the Who You Got post that you were referencing earlier, and I've talked about all night long, there were 4 likes. Those were all for Chase Durheim. I mean, one of them was Chase, one was Skavnicki, another one was Hernandez, and some teammates and affiliates there. But there was one reaction for you, and that was Josh Conover. It seemed like he believed in you the whole way through, yet he was the one chasing you there at the end. Were you nervous he was going to get to you and upset that?
I was getting a little worried because he was coming pretty quick. But it's like once they got to about a second, everything leveled off for a little bit, and it allowed me to take some laps down. And I think if him and Corey or Cody didn't race each other, maybe for a lap or two, he might have got to me.
And of course, next up from here, we head out to Phoenix International Raceway next week. That's a completely different kind of racetrack, but just as many bumps. How do you feel about that one?
Typically I run pretty good at Phoenix. It's not one of my favorite. Honestly, I hate running there. Typically I have decent long run speed there. I'm not sure about short run, but it's one of them tracks that it's just grueling. It seems like it just goes on and on because it's just one of them weird tracks where there's a lot of braking, a lot of off gas, and it just wears on you.
Well, Dalton Tucker, 56 laps led tonight. Congratulations. You are tied currently with Cody Anderson and Josh Conover for the driver of the day vote. I guess you need to do some campaigning here in the back end of the broadcast. Best of luck.
Appreciate it, y'all.
Dalton Tucker grabs the win here at Texas Motor Speedway. On down to second place, Zach. I did not have this guy locked in for second at the beginning of the day. It's Josh Conover.
Conover coming in just 1 spot short yet again on getting this win taken care of here at Texas Motor Speedway. Josh, I got to ask you this. The burning question is, do you think if you got by Anderson and even Brian Jones a little bit faster, that you would have been in contention for this race win?
I guess the racer in you would like to say yes, but I think I just waited too long to cover him pitting, and then just ran out of laps. I think funny enough, I had my broadcast on the second monitor. I wasn't even paying attention. I was trying to drive away from Hunter, and you guys panned to him on pit road, and I was like, oh, he's on pit road. Okay, well, and then at that point it was, I think, 2 or 3 laps too late, but can't say we didn't try.
Well, the effort is not going unnoticed. You did an absolute stand-up job to put that car in position and take that race win. Just weren't able to get there. You said yourself you didn't think you covered off Tucker that well. You were leading there at the end of the race before the final green flag stop. What do you think you could have done differently than to cover him off? Do you think there was any sort of way that you could have pitted either on the same lap as him, or maybe just tried to pit earlier on and see if maybe that would have worked out in your favor?
I think so. I forget when he actually even pitted. Actually, 167. My number was 170 the whole time, and then, like I said, by the time I realized he had pitted, it was 170 already anyway. But I think too, I was just driving a little too easy on entry. I know I feel like I keep telling guys every week in Discord, the car is so tight because you guys drive it in so deep in the corner. And again, I was loose pretty much all night except for one run when after I got my CC for causing that caution and trying to come through the field. I was overdriving and it was too tight. But no, I think try and figure out the balance to get in to the corner a little bit harder and still manage to keep the right front about as cool as the right rear, I guess you could say. But no, I mean, Dalton's always tough. Like I said when you guys interviewed me earlier, he's one of the top guys in here for a reason. He's got the most all-time NORA wins for a reason. So it is what it is. To finish second to him isn't too bad, and not a bad points day either.
Absolutely can't complain about the points. Did an absolute stand-up job to bring yourself back up in contention at the end of that race. Congratulations on your second place finish. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again next week.
I appreciate it. I want to shout out Harpoon Design as well, series sponsor. I think it's the first one we've actually ever had. So Brantley at Harpoon, appreciate him for coming on, helping us get you guys in here as well. And I think he's done a couple wraps. He obviously did mine, and I think he did the 38 of Scav Nicky's too, and I think 1 or 2 more, I believe is what I saw them post. But yeah, like I said, appreciate Harpoon, appreciate you guys and everybody that ran. And I actually have a question for you before I go. Did you guys notice the track losing rubber under cautions because we'd picked the rubber up off of it?
I didn't notice. Andrew, did you notice?
I didn't specifically notice, but I will say it doesn't look super rubbered in for 200 laps here.
Yeah, I think it might have been either the last restart or the one, obviously going back 1 or 2. 3 and 4 look completely like fresh again because under caution with a recent update, we're picking up that rubber, and it literally went from like pitch black like it was maybe pre-race to, like I said, almost looking like 5%, and then obviously we laid the rubber back down. So that definitely too changed the handling. I don't know if everybody else felt it or if it was just me, but definitely something to think about going forward here in this 2005 season.
We'll have to keep a closer eye on that as the races go on. But once again, congrats on your second place finish. Hopefully we'll be talking to you again going into next week, and hopefully you'll be out there fighting for the win once again.
Appreciate you guys as always.
Absolutely. A very content Josh Kahn over on that second place finish. That's something we're going to have to keep an eye on, Andrew, because I truthfully did not notice that.
Neither did I, but looking at the track now, it doesn't look super rubbery for 200 laps having been run. I suppose it depends on the track state they started the race with, but let's see what Cody Anderson has to say as he finishes third here this evening at Texas Motor Speedway. And this is kind of an oddball kind of run, I feel like, for the 33 car. We have seen you around the top 10 most of the time that you run, but winning pace, where'd this come from?
I like this track. It's a lot of fun. Tire management, which I try to focus on quite a bit. Just had a lot of bad luck earlier in races this year. I sped on pit road at Atlanta, and I got caught up in a wreck at Bristol. So finally nice to get one together and finish out where we deserve.
Definitely a strong run here as you pick up a teammate even in that 29 car. And I know it's going to be maybe a week or two to get him up to speed, but bringing in an extra RCR car, is that going to help you guys going forward this season?
Yeah, Yeah, for sure. Anytime you get more cars on the track, I think it's a little bit better. And I was talking to PJ there at the end of the race, and he was trying to look at some different lines and see if he was finding something that I wasn't. And I tried to go high with probably about 12 to go and see if there was something up there. And ultimately, they let Josh get by me, which I think he was going to get me anyway, but just a little bit sooner. Those marbles just seem to be really there. They're a thing, and if you jump that curb, you can really get loose and stuff. So just happy to finish third. I'll take it, and we'll go on to the next one.
The next one being Phoenix. Unfortunately, we can't quite run under the lights there like they did back in 05, but we can still have a fun time at Phoenix International Raceway with the grass and the dog leg. How do you feel about that one?
Phoenix is going to be up in the air for me. I might have a work event next Monday, so might have to miss that one, but we'll try to make the next one, which I don't know what's after that. Is it Darlington?
Talladega, then Darlington, Richmond, and Charlotte.
Okay. Yeah, so hopefully we'll be at the next two after that. And that Talladega is where the teammate's going to come into play too, so it's nice that we got another car out there and have someone to draft with.
And hey, we ended up putting the entire top three, that includes you, on the driver of the day vote in addition to the 34 car. You are not quite leading. Dalton's got you by, it looks like, about a vote. If there's anything that you can say to change maybe, a viewer's mind quickly before we cap this thing off, what can you do to campaign for why you should be driver of the day today?
Hey, let's help a part-timer out here. We don't get up here very often and for the win, so I think Dalton's probably got it a few times. Let's try to get a part-timer here.
There you go, Cody Anderson. Looking for some part-time love. Cody, congratulations. Strong run.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
We'll let this vote go just a little bit longer, but Dalton Tucker has the advantage for now, Zach. But, while we wait on that, we can go ahead and talk about what's upcoming for these guys again. And we've done it a couple times already this evening, but there you go. Phoenix, Talladega, Darlington, Richmond, and Charlotte. The run down through the back end of May here. And in there will be a special event, the all-star kind of race, if you will, the prelude at Eldora. Some details still being worked out on that one, but these are some, again, classic NASCAR tracks, and in a few of them, I think, you can, I guess, say Phoenix is a little bit newer to the fold, but these are really, really good tracks coming up.
I think Phoenix would be super new. It's been around since, what, the 90s? Had one of the first NASCAR Truck Series races.
80s. I'm gonna look this up. Keep on going. I'm gonna look this up.
Pretty sure it was the 90s, because I know they had some Truck Series races there early on. I don't know, but oh man, I'm trying to rack my brain right now and see if I can remember things correctly.
Well, they had their first Cup race in 1988. I could have sworn that was the year, so there you go, 1988 for Phoenix International Raceway. And, of course, we'll be on the old version of Phoenix, but it doesn't look like the vote is going to change much, so we're going to have to give it out to Dalton Tucker, the race winner here tonight. That's deserving. We're just looking to have a little bit of fun, I suppose, but that is so deserving for Dalton Tucker, and very cool to see, considering the struggles he's had to get this season going. We've seen so much pace out of this guy. He just has been coming up short. Here he is, winning tonight, driver of the day as well. I think it's deserved.
Think so too. He put on an outstanding performance. He definitely deserves this one. If I'm not mistaken, he led the most laps on the day, didn't he?
That I'm not sure about. We definitely spread laps out across the board, but we can take a look at what's upcoming for us here at the channel, of course, as we look to wrap this one up this evening. Next up, we head out to Martinsville Speedway this coming Sunday, so a little bit of time in between now and then. I know we've got much more in the works the rest of the year, and NARL is not far away as far as resuming their season, so plenty of racing still on the way just for right now, holding it to NORA Retro Cup Series and AARN action, which is Still always exciting. I'm excited for Martinsville actually on Sunday, and then to head out to Phoenix the day after, and of course then out to Bristol the week after that for the All-American Racing Network. Sunday mornings, Monday nights. It's definitely an interesting combo here, Zach, but I'm looking forward to it, and you can follow along plenty of places.
Always so many different places to follow along here on Pit Stop TV and all the great races that we've got coming up on the broadcast. You can always follow along at www.pitstoptv.com for all the great broadcasts that we've got and all of our great schedules that we also have with a lot of these broadcasts coming up. Facebook.com/pitstoptv as well. Instagram.com/pitstop. Getting ahead of myself. /pit_stop_TV. TikTok.com/pitstoptv1. Twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV. YouTube.com/pitstoptv1 and X.com/pitstoptv_. I won't lie to you, Andrew. I was trying to see if I could do it without looking at the screen for once. The amount of times that I've done it, it should be engraved into my brain. And I stumbled over myself and I had to like improv for a second.
That's okay. There's always next time. And again, that next time coming next Sunday, or I guess this coming Sunday, a week from yesterday anyways, when we go to Martinsville Speedway with the All-American Racing Network. Until then, thanks for joining us here this evening. It's been a pleasure as always. Of course, a big thank you to Harpoon Design for being on board, not just this evening, but this entire season for the NORA Retro Cup Series. The National Oval Racing Association has been a bunch of fun already. 29 more races, maybe even a couple of special events in there on the way, so plenty more to come from these guys. A big thank you as well to our partners here at the channel, of course, Whiplash Simcams, MX Wraps, ATVO, Murtis Esports, CC's Business, and the North American Racing League. But that will do it for us this evening from Texas Motor Speedway. Thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully we'll catch you this coming Sunday from Martinsville Speedway. Otherwise, we'll see you all next time for the NORA Retro Cup Series as we look forward to Phoenix next week. Green flag back in the air. Brendan Maddox, Adam Buzzio, the whole field chomping at the bit. Green flag back in the air at Talladega. The Lucky Performance Overtime rules reminding you that if we get back around to the white flag, this race is official. Buzzio with a push from Dyer. Maddox with a push from Hughes. Zach, I think we're going to get there.
I think we will. Coming back around, Buzzio leads the group. through the tri-oval we go. No caution. Sam Dyer looks to the outside. 3 wide for the race lead. White flag is in the air, presented by Whiplash Sim Cams. Sam Dyer is all by himself on the top line, Andrew. There is nothing that he can do. He's going to start dropping back, and Brendan Maddox is out in front by himself. I do not want to have a gap that big.
We'll see how this one works out. Maddox moves up, now moves down. That checks up the bottom side. Here comes Buzzio. Here comes Camper. Here comes Plord, all on the top side of the racetrack. Maddox now going to try and fight back on the bottom with a push from Buzzio's teammate. That's Hughes down low, and Hughes isn't pushing the lead. Now he gets there from a push from Mason Houseman to the stripe. It's going to be a drag race. Adam Buzzio. Dakota Camper, he's going to look down to the inside, and Camper is going to shove alongside of the 5. Dakota Camper, maybe, no, Buzzio's got to win this season.
Oh my goodness, what a finish.